Chapter 166. Yichen stayed at home for the next few days. Compared to the uproar in the outside world, he seemed rather calm. He asked Lin Tai to look for news from Beijing while spending time with his daughter at home. He had disappeared from the public sight for a few days, which made the outside world feel lost. At the Nine Dragons Bay Villa, I've finally broken through to peak stage spirit assembly. After a night of hard cultivation, joy flashed through Yi Chen's eyes as he sensed his cultivation base carefully. The peak of the spirit assembly state was only one step away from the foundation building state. At that time, he would be able to use even more techniques. He was even more confident that no one on Earth would be able to threaten him. He got up and walked to the window. He lifted the curtain and looked in the direction of Beijing. It's almost 3 months. Yuhan, I think it's time for me to bring our daughter here to see you. I guarantee that nobody will be able to stop our family reunion this time. Many people have died in my hands, so I don't mind more dying. However, there are 2 things that I need to do before I go to Beijing. Yichen looked like he was in deep thought. Firstly, I need to settle everything and see if I should build an organization. That way, nobody in the entire Tianan will dare to cause trouble even if I'm not here. Secondly, I need to look for geographical veins for foundation building. However, there's a lack of spiritual energy on Earth. I'm afraid most of the geographical veins have dried up. Even if there are any, they're half useless. At that moment, the butler, Afu's voice came from outside. Master, there are 3 people outside requesting to see you. Should we? Yi Chen scanned with his divine consciousness and could not help but frown. He said, ask them to go to the living room. I'll be there soon. Afu responded and left. Are they still unwilling to give up? Yichen fell into deep thought. There were 3 people outside, 2 ladies and a man. One of the ladies was Qin Yao, whom he had fought a few days ago. They did not get along back then, so Yichen did not have a good impression of her. Forget it. Why don't I ask them if they know anything about geographical veins? If they do, I don't mind joining them. Yichen secretly made up his mind. The Special Forces Brigade was the elite of the elites in China after all. They had many resources that ordinary people did not know about. They might really know about geographical veins. In the living room of the villa, 2 men and a woman sat quietly on the sofa. The man and woman on the left and right were young, about 25 or 26 years old. As for the woman in the middle, she was in her 30s and had a gentle temperament. The other 2 seemed to be centered around her. One of the young men took a sip of tea and said with an impatient expression, Old man, your master's face is really big. We've been waiting for a long time, but he still hasn't come out. Why don't you go and urge him? Master is busy. Please wait patiently. If the tea is not enough, I will give you more. Afu smiled politely. What's up? The young man immediately stood up and said in a deep voice, If he's fine, then we'll be fine, right? Don't play dumb with me. Hurry up and rush him. Zhuo Wei, sit down, the woman in her 30s chided. Zhuo Wei sat down again and said angrily, Sister Qing, I really can't stand this Yi. He thinks he can look down on us just because he's capable. I didn't believe what Yao Yao told me earlier, but I've seen it with my own eyes now. He looked at Qin Yao next to him as he spoke and said coldly, Don't worry, Yao Yao. I'll definitely teach him a lesson when he comes out. I'll avenge you. You can't even defeat me. How are you going to avenge me? Qin Yao chuckled coldly. She seemed to be annoyed that Zhuo Wei called her Yao Yao. Zhuo Wei was speechless at that moment. He said after a scoff, I don't believe that he's really that powerful. He killed 3 masters consecutively and destroyed the warship with a swing of his sword. He makes it sound like he's a god. That's enough. Don't talk so much. Wang Qing glared at him. Although that was what she said about Zhuo Wei, she was secretly upset. Since when did the firearms division have to be so humble when they were recruiting people? As soon as the news was released, nobody knew how many people would rush to join them. Moreover, he was the chief instructor, the leader of the firearms division. Soon, Yichen walked in. Afu went to welcome him immediately as he walked in. Yichen took a good look at the 3 of them and said calmly, I'm sorry to have kept you guys waiting. Meanwhile, Zhuo Wei and Wang Qing took a good look at Yichen at the same time. They could not help but feel a little disappointed when they saw that he looked mediocre and was dressed in plain clothes. Mr. Yi, I'm Wang Qing. This is Zhuo Wei. and this is Qin Yao. You've met them before." Wang Qing stood up politely and took the initiative to introduce them. Qin Yao and Zhuo Wei, on the other hand, sat still as if they did not see anything. Yichen did not mind. After getting Wang Qing to sit down, he got off food to get them another cup of tea. He then said directly, "I wonder why you're looking for me, Ms. Wang." Wang Qing's expression froze. Clearly, she did not expect him to be so direct. She hesitated before saying, "I wonder if you've heard of the Firearms Division, Mr. Yi?" "No." Yichen shook his head. "You've heard of the Special Forces Brigade, right?" Wang Qing glanced at him. She said while smiling after seeing him nod, "The Special Forces Brigade is made up of the best and most powerful soldiers in China. It's not an exaggeration to describe them as the Army's elites. There are many Special Forces squads under the Special Forces Brigade, such as the Thunderbolt, the Battle Wolf, the Bright Sword, the Fire Phoenix, and so on. Meanwhile, our Firearms Division is under the Special Forces Brigade. We're under the direct jurisdiction of the Department of Defense." She paused as she spoke to this point and looked at Yi Chun half-intentionally. However, Yi Chun had no expression on his face. Instead, he asked, "So, the purpose of your visit today is to get me to join the Firearms Division?" "That's right." Wang Qing inhaled lightly. "We'd like to invite you to join the Firearms Division and be our chief instructor, Mr. Yi." Zhuo Wei, who was standing aside, had a slight change of expression as soon as he heard that. However, he said nothing in the end. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction when he looked at Yi Chun. Qin Yao's eyes were cold, and there was no expression on her face. "Chief instructor?" Yi Chun's expression remained unchanged. Noticing that he was confused, Wang Qing explained, "The 8 Special Forces under the Special Forces Brigade have a competition every year. It's also called the Military Base Competition." Her expression was rather unnatural. "Unfortunately, our Firearms Division's chief instructor died in battle 3 years ago. Therefore, the position of chief instructor has been vacant for 3 years. Without anyone to teach us, we've ranked last in the military base competition for 3 consecutive years." Hearing that, Zhuo Wei and Qin Yao held their heads down one after another. "You guys can look for someone else." "Why me? I don't think we've talked to each other before." That was what Yi Chun was most confused about. Zhuo Wei, who was standing aside, scoffed. "Do you think it want to look for you? Isn't it an order from the higher-ups?" Wang Qing hesitated for a moment when she met Yi Chun's gaze. She nodded and said, "The chief of the Special Forces Brigade ordered you to be the Firearms Division's chief instructor." Yi Chun was not the only one who was confused. Even she was confused. Yi Chun was just too young and too ordinary. Although there were many rumors about him, she thought they were exaggerated. Before Yi Chun could speak, Zhuo Wei spoke again. "I'm advising you to know where you stand. None of us in the Firearms Division are weak. If you're incompetent, you'll only be a joke if you join us." Yi Chun gave a short response and looked at him coldly. "You don't seem to agree with me?" Zhuo Wei scoffed. Although he did not admit it directly, the disdain on his face betrayed him. "Zhuo Wei." Wang Qing glared at him. Yi Chun looked at him without moving and nodded. "Since you don't agree with me, why don't we play something more exciting?" "Sure. Zhuo Wei, will play with you anytime." Zhuo Wei chuckled, looking unconvinced. "I wonder what game do you want to play?" Yi Chun enunciated word for word. "Russian roulette." Chapter 167. The few people in the house were shocked as soon as Yi Chun was done speaking. The people in the room were shocked, and their faces were filled with disbelief. They thought they had heard wrongly. The smile on Zhuo Wei's face froze, and he looked extremely terrible. "Are you crazy? Why are you playing this game?" The so-called Russian roulette was actually a cruel gambling game. Different from poker and mahjong, the gambling tool was a revolver while the bet was one's fate. The way it was played was to put 1 or 6 bullets into the revolver's 6-bullet slots and spin the revolver at will. Both parties would point the revolver at their own heads and shoot. It was a battle of life and death. It was cruel as it tested one's luck and guts. Therefore, Zhuo Wei was shocked when he heard that. Even Wang Qing and Qin Yao, who were standing aside, were shocked. They looked at Yi Chun like they were looking at a lunatic. "You don't dare to?" Yi Chun said coldly. Zhuo Wei's face flushed. "I don't accept such a request." You're useless." Yi Chen chuckled. You don't even dare to play this game. What right do you have to challenge me? You. Zhuo Wei was enraged. He was an elite in the military, so he had never been scolded like that. He said while clenching his teeth, Sure, I'll play with you. Zhuo Wei, don't. Are you crazy? You'll die. Wang Qing's expression changed, and she stopped him immediately. As soon as one played this game, one would definitely die unless they gave up halfway. No matter if it was Zhuo Wei or Yi Chen who died, it would not be a good thing. Qin Yao looked at Yi Chen coldly. Is it fun? Yi Chen ignored her and looked at Zhuo Wei instead. Since he had said that, Zhuo Wei wanted to give up, but he was afraid that he would embarrass himself before Qin Yao. All he could do was ask, Do you have a revolver? He thought that Yi Chen was just scaring him earlier. After all, it was impossible for a regular person to have a gun, let alone a revolver. I happen to have one. Yi Chen saw through what he was thinking. He smiled, and a revolver appeared in his hand. He had gotten it from Barton. Zhuo Wei's expression turned terrible, as if he had eaten a fly when he realized that he really had a revolver. Yi Chen picked up the pistol and opened the magazine. It was filled with 6 bullets. He took out a bullet and left 5 inside. He looked at Zhuo Wei and said, There are 5 bullets inside, and only 1 is empty. In other words, each of us only has 1 chance to shoot. His voice fell. Zhuo Wei staggered and fell from the sofa onto the floor. He's out his mind. He's really out his mind. Wang Qing and Qin Yao stared with their eyes wide open. They suspected that Yi Chen had really lost his mind. Every time the revolver was fired, the cartridge slot would rotate once. If there was only 1 empty cartridge slot, the first shot might kill someone. If the first shot didn't kill someone, the second shot would definitely kill someone. In other words, once they started playing, Yi Chen and Zhuo Wei would kill one of them with a single shot. Zhuo Wei looked at Yi Chen in fear, his lips trembling. Lunatic, you're really a lunatic. I'm not playing with you anymore. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Trash. Yi Chen squeezed the 2 words out of his mouth coldly. Subsequently, he put the bullet back. Just when everyone thought that he had given up, he picked up the revolver and rotated it slightly. He picked up the revolver and turned the cylinder slightly. When the cylinder stopped, he pointed the gun at his head. Wang Qing wanted to stop him by instinct. Since the cartridge slot was full, he would definitely die as soon as he fired. However, in the next second, the gun was fired. Wang Qing could not help but close her eyes. She seemed to not want to see the gory scene before her. Qin Yao did the same. Although she had conflicts with Yi Chen before, she did not want him to die. Among the 3 of them, Zhuo Wei was the only one who did not close his eyes. However, his expression was filled with horror. How is that possible? He saw Yi Chen extend 2 fingers to catch the bullet the moment the gunshot was fired. Most importantly, the muzzle was less than 10 centimeters away from his head. 10 centimeters aside, even if he was 100 meters away, he would not be able to dodge it. However, Yi Chen caught the bullet forcefully. Wang Qing and Qin Yao opened their eyes immediately upon hearing Zhuo Wei's voice. They did not look any better. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not have believed it. Yi Chen did not seem to see their expressions. He smiled and pointed the gun at his head again. Bang! The gun was fired. The moment the gun was fired, the 3 of them saw Yi Chen's fingers stick to his forehead without them knowing. There was a bullet between his fingers. The 3 of them looked at each other in shock. If they still had any doubts before, they were now only left with shock. Subsequently, Yi Chen picked up the revolver again and fired a shot at his forehead. This time, he did not extend his hand to catch the bullet. Instead, he allowed the bullet to hit him. Ding! Zhuo Wei and the other 2 felt like they heard the sound of a bullet hitting a steel plate. They looked again. Nothing happened to Yi Chen's forehead. Meanwhile, there was a bullet that was flattened by something on the ground. Dead silence filled the place. Zhuo Wei looked like he had just seen a ghost. Wang Qing and Qin Yao were dumbstruck. Even bullets could not hurt him. Ha! Yi Chen smiled and looked at Zhuo Wei with extremely cold eyes. Let me ask you, do you surrender now? I surrender. Zhuo Wei gulped. He felt like there was a buzz in his head. Yi Chen nodded and looked at Wang Qing. I can be the Firearms Division's chief instructor, but I have 2 conditions. Please go ahead, Mr. Yi. Wang Qing bowed immediately. After witnessing the many techniques that Yi Chan had performed earlier, she was completely convinced by him now. Firstly, I won't report after joining the firearms division, let alone train with you guys. You guys can't restrict me. Wang Qing forced a smile. Mr. Yi, we're asking you to train us. If you don't go, then let me put it this way. I won't be going anytime soon. Since the military-based competition is usually at the end of the year, I'll go a month before the competition. Yi Chan said, secondly, I need you guys to find a geographical vein for me. That was the reason why he was willing to join the firearms division. It was really difficult for him to find a geographical vein on his own. However, it was different for the government. A geographical vein? Wang Qing was slightly stunned. Subsequently, she looked at Zhuo Wei and Qin Yao in confusion. Both of them shook their heads to indicate that they had no idea. Yi Chan explained, to put it simply, it's some volcanoes, especially those that are dormant. Or it's a cold pond that will freeze if someone falls into it. Or it's a cold wind hole. The wind in the cold wind hole can even rip a person's skin off. Geographical veins were different from spiritual veins. Spiritual veins produce spiritual stones, while geographical veins were a rather unique, harsh environment. For example, a dormant volcano would not erupt all year round. Many flames had gathered in it, so there might even be a fire spirit growing there. On the other hand, a cold wind hole would be filled with strong wind that could slice one's skin and bones. Meanwhile, one would need a geographical vein to build one's foundation. Wang Qing came to a realization. She was a smart person, so she knew what to ask and what not to ask. She said after taking a deep breath in, Mr. Yi, I can't agree to the two conditions that you mentioned. I'll report this to my superior. Sure, just contact me when the time comes. Yi Chen nodded. He did not get Wang Qing to agree to him right away. After all, it was difficult to find a geographical vein. After getting his reply, Wang Qing and the rest left after staying for a while. On the other hand, Qin Yao glared at Yi Chen before she left. Her pretty face was pouting. Be careful, my brother won't let you go. Chapter 168. Soon after Wang Qing and the rest left, Yi Chen reminded Ah Fu. Just when Yi Chen was about to go home, after reminding Ah Fu, another woman came to the villa. It was Xiaoya. She had changed into a light blue dress that day. She was no longer as cold as when she was bullying the Kongtong sect earlier. Xiaoya took a good look at the villa's decor. She seemed to be a little surprised, but she said while smiling, Master, I'm going back to the Hmong village. What time is your flight? Yi Chen asked. 5 p. Yi Chen looked at the time and realized that it was only past 10 in the morning. It was not too early, so he could only nod and did not ask her to stay. In reality, Yi Chen was not good with words when it came to women. Moreover, they were women apart from Yuhan. Therefore, the atmosphere in the house was rather awkward. Eventually, Xiaoya broke the silence. Master, who was the lady who was with you earlier? She's Mengmeng's auntie. Yi Chen did not hide the truth. Xiaoya was shocked. Her red lips parted softly. Then, where's Mengmeng's mother? In reality, she did not know much about Yi Chen. Her general impression of him was from when they were in high school. She only had a deeper impression of him after he went to Tiannan to show off his skills. Before that, Xiaoya had no idea about Yi Chen's family at all, including his parents and Mengmeng's mother. She once suspected that Mengmeng's mother might have passed away. Otherwise, she would not have missed her. Therefore, she felt a little shy. Her mother. Yi Chen's expression changed slightly. He subsequently shook his head and said, Forget it. Let's not talk about that. I saw you fighting sect leader Tang from the Kongtong sect. You've improved quite a lot. You must cultivate hard when you get back. He had taken this disciple in at the spur of the moment. He mainly wanted to stop Xiaoya and the people from the Hmong village from thinking about him. However, reality proved that Yi Chen was wrong. Xiaoya was a person who valued friendship. After knowing that the three masters were challenging him, she still resolutely traveled thousands of miles to help him. Xiaoya's pretty eyes dimmed upon noticing that he was unwilling to talk about it. However, she nodded calmly anyway. Yi Chen thought about it and returned to the second floor of the villa. Soon, he took out a bag the size of a palm and passed it to Xiaoya. This is a storage bag. There are 6 cubic meters of space inside. You can use a drop of your blood to refine it. You can store important items inside. Of course, if you want to send me medicinal ingredients next time, you can also store them inside. This is a storage bag? Xiaoya stared blankly at the palm-sized bag. She was a little shocked. How could such a small bag contain things? Yes, don't look down on its small size. The space inside is 6 cubic meters. Seeing that she was stunned, Yi-chan said while smiling, "Actually, it's something similar to Sumru's space. You'll understand it slowly in the future. However, you must keep this a secret and don't tell anyone. Otherwise, you'll get yourself killed." Back when he had obtained the dark Dao Void Stone from the general's tomb, he had gathered other materials to forge a storage ring and 3 bags of holding. These items were worthless in the cultivation world, but on Earth, they were enough to make any organization go crazy for them. Xiaoya bit her finger and dripped a drop of blood onto the storage bag. She then refined it according to Yi Chen's refining method. Joy filled her pretty face. With this, it would be convenient for her to carry her cosmetics when she went out. She would not have to worry about not being able to carry it, even when she was shopping. It was simply tailor-made for women. If Yi Chen knew what she was thinking about, he might kill her for the sake of justice at the same time. A black BMW was parked by the road at the entrance of the Nine Dragons Bay Villa. Suyue sat in the car, staring at the villa's exit every now and then. She would turn her head to ask Guosheng, who was next to her, "Brother Guo, did you really see that woman go in there?" Guosheng nodded. Suyue's expression turned grim. "How long did that woman go in?" "About an hour," Guosheng answered in an unsure manner. Bang! Suyue slapped the seat angrily. She was so mad that her face was pale. "Yi Chen, you're hiding a mistress here. You even had a secret meeting with that woman for an hour. I was wondering why that woman looked at you like she had just eaten candy every time. An hour was enough for something to happen. Bastard, how can you face my sister?" She opened the car door and walked directly to the villa's entrance as she thought to this point. She was furious. "No, I must catch them in the act." "Second Missy, don't." Guosheng's expression changed. Yi Chen had performed the demonic, phantasm tactic on him. One could say that he was Yi Chen's puppet now. How could he do anything that would betray Yi Chen? Suyue did not stop. She was going to go in angrily. At that moment, Xiaoya walked out. She was alone with a smile lingering on her pretty face. The 2 ladies stopped walking at the same time and looked at each other. None of them spoke, but their eyes were filled with hostility and killing intent. Standing aside, Guosheng had no idea what to do. He was afraid that the 2 of them would fight each other while grabbing each other's necks. Suyue scoffed and said while suppressing the rage within her, "You're Ms. Xiao, right? I'm a Ming's aunt. I wonder if I can have the honor of treating you to a meal?" She even glanced at Xiaoya provocatively after saying that. "You slut. I'm challenging you. Let's see if you dare to accept it." Xiaoya smiled lightly. Sure. Nobody knew what happened between the 2 ladies. However, Xiaoya left the restaurant as if nothing had happened after the meal. She took a plane back to the Hmong village that afternoon. Meanwhile, there were 2 palm prints on Suyue's face when she came out. They were so red that they were turning purple that night at the Hongtai Club. Yi Chen and Lin Tai sat in the private room. There was nobody around, not even a waiter. Lin Tai suppressed the horror within him and said to Yi Chen while looking at him, "My lord, have you really thought about going to Beijing? That's the Su family. I've been waiting for this day for a long time." Yi Chen looked up at the moon and said with a deep gaze, "The entire Beijing will either kneel under my feet or be crushed by my sword when I go there." A breathtakingly beautiful face couldn't help but appear in his mind, and all the things that happened in the past floated up into his mind. "Yuhan, I still remember the first time I met you. You fainted during the military training, so I sent you to the school's infirmary. I'll never forget the way you looked at me when you woke up. It's true. Although it has been over 3,000 years, it's still vivid in my mind. I once killed a person within 10 steps, but I lost your gaze. Yuhan, wait for me." "My lord, why don't I go with you? I can share your burden," Lin Tai said while clenching his teeth. Beijing was not only a place that Yi Chen wanted to conquer, but it was also Lin Tai's childhood nightmare. It was a shadow that he could never get rid of. However, for his lord, so what if Lin Tai, had to kneel to that person? No. Yi Chen turned his head to look at him and eased his expression. You've been with me for some time now. I'll give you a shocking opportunity today. I hope that you'll become one of the 2 generals under me in the future. Chapter 169. Earth-shattering creation. Lin Tai was stunned at first when he heard that. Subsequently, endless joy appeared on his face. Lord, he seemed to have guessed something faintly. Don't talk. Calm down. Yi Chen looked calm. Lin Tai took a deep breath, suppressing the excitement in him. Yi Chen pointed a finger between Lin Tai's brows after noticing that he was almost ready. Lin Tai released a low grunt as he felt a massive and violent memory surge. It almost made his head explode. Ouch. It hurts. He wanted to resist by instinct, but Yi Chen's calm voice came into his ears. Don't move. I'll teach you the Azura heaven-suppressing kill today. It's the Azura tribe's ultimate technique. The Azura heaven-suppressing kill has the first kill that slaughters living beings, the second kill that destroys all living beings, the third kill that breaks mountains and rivers, the fourth kill that destroys heaven and earth, the fifth kill that destroys the stars, the sixth kill that destroys hell, the seventh kill that shatters the sky, the eighth kill that kills immortals and Buddhas, and the ninth kill that destroys the 3 realms. Yi Chen's voice was like the Buddha's voice that rumbled in Lin Tai's head. Lin Tai endured the pain and tried his best to digest the memory. Eventually, his face was twitching from the pain. Sweat the size of beans drenched his body, but he was holding it in. Yi Chen stood aside and looked at him expressionlessly. If Lin Tai could not even endure such pain, he was destined to be a failure. Yi Chen would clear his memory for him. There was a tribe in the immortal world called the Azura tribe. They were also known as the Hercules, who were half human and half god. They were born with innate bodies and could lift cauldrons at the age of 3. The Azura tribe was born to fight, and they were brave and good at fighting. Unfortunately, Yi Chen had almost destroyed the Azura tribe, especially the Azura tribe's chief. Yi Chen had beheaded him on Mount Taihao with the Heavenly Emperor sword back then. His body turned into a mountain range that stood for 1,000 years. All in all, Lin Tai was suitable to cultivate the Azura tribe's cultivation method, no matter whether it was his physique or his personality. However, Yi Chen only gave him the first half, so he was not afraid that he would betray him in the future. He could suppress him with a flip of his palm. 2 hours later, Lin Tai finally finished digesting the memory in his head. Lin Tai finally digested the memories in his head. He opened his eyes all of a sudden, and his aura changed. He then knelt on one knee before Yi Chen. Thank you for granting me this, my lord. I'll definitely follow you to the end of my life. As he spoke, his entire body trembled violently. Even his heart was pounding. He was ecstatic because the body metamorphosed scripture and the 18 dragon subduing palms were nothing but trash in front of it. What was shocking was that such a cultivation technique definitely did not exist on Earth. Then, the identity of the High Lord was obvious. The High Lord was truly a god. At this moment, Yi Chen had risen to the peak in Lin Tai's heart. He was like a god that gave him the urge to worship him. As the celestial arch, I shall kill all enemies in the world. Yi Chen placed his arms behind his back and looked down at him in a condescending manner. Meanwhile, you're a killing sword in my hand. Although a sword is great, I don't want you to hurt your master. Otherwise, it's fine if this sword is destroyed. His tone seemed calm, but there was infinite killing intent in it. Lin Tai's heart clenched, and he buried his head immediately. I dare not. If I dare to betray you, my lord, I'll be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Get up. Yi Chen nodded. Subsequently, a white jade bottle appeared in his hand. This is the Qi cultivation pill for cultivation. There are 10 of them in there. Take one every 3 days from now on. It'll speed up your cultivation progress. Lin Tai took it over and twisted the cap off. He smelled the fragrance of the pill at that moment. Just a whiff of it made him have goosebumps all over his body. He felt energized. Take one now and try to cleanse your meridians. Lin Tai held back his excitement and popped an Qi cultivation pill into his mouth. The medicinal pill melted as soon as it entered his mouth. It turned into pure energy that penetrated his organs and limbs through his esophagus. It charged through his meridians. Crackle, crackle. The sound of beans being fried immediately erupted from his body, and traces of black dirt seeped out his face, accompanied by a foul stench. His body also expanded by a large margin. It was cleansing his meridians. Lin Tai stretched his arm out and blankly looked at the changes to his body. Excitement filled his eyes. Subsequently, he knelt on one knee before Yi Chen again. The ground shook when he knelt. A tile was crushed by his kneeling as if it was hit by an external force. Yi Chen accepted his kneeling calmly and said expressionlessly, "You know very well how much good fortune you've obtained. You know better than anyone that you don't flaunt your wealth. You'll get into trouble because of your wealth, so I won't say anything else." Lin Tai became serious immediately. If outsiders were to find out about such a method and these medicinal pills, they would go crazy. He did not have the ability to deal with that at the moment. He would definitely die a horrible death as soon as he exposed himself. "Before I leave, I'll give you a mission. You must complete it no matter what." Lin Tai listened attentively. "Please tell me what it is, my lord." Yi Chen said calmly, "Build an organization for me. I don't want too many people, just 800 will do. However, these 800 people can't be older than 40. I don't want people from wealthy families. I want them to be loyal and decisive. I'll only give you 10 days. I'll definitely complete it." Lin Tai was shocked. He asked again after some hesitation, "My lord, what's the name of our organization?" "Star Pavilion." Yi Chen sat down with his deep eyes. "You'll be the deputy pavilion master of the Star Pavilion for now. Bring them to Beijing to look for me when you've gathered enough people." He said the name without thinking. Compared to the Murder Heaven Alliance, which was a name that could easily be seen as a cult, the Star Pavilion was better. Lin Tai nodded immediately. "You know what to do with my parents." Yi Chen took a good look at him. He walked out of the Hong Tai Club after seeing that most of them had left. On the streets of Lin City, Yi Chen's skin was crystal clear under the moonlight like frost. Meanwhile, his eyes looked like they had been through the ages. "Yang Tian, your future is in your hands. If you can complete my test, you'll be the second most powerful general under me. If you can't, it's good to be an ordinary person." He turned around and left after saying that. 200 miles away, at the border of Jiangbei and northern Jiangsu, a middle-aged man with messy hair and a face full of stubble walked on the highway with a tattered sackcloth bag in his left hand and a wooden stick in his right hand. The passing drivers all looked at him. Perhaps because he walked too fast, the middle-aged man stumbled forward and fell flat on his face. The rag fell to the ground, and a large number of bottles and cans spilled out. They were all mineral water bottles and cans. The middle-aged man stood up without saying a word and put the bottles and cans back. He picked up the ragged cloth bag and continued to walk forward. After walking to an empty forest, the middle-aged man suddenly squatted on the ground and cried. He wiped his tears and said, "Goddamn old Yi, you've really screwed me over. 5 days, a whole 5 days. Do you know how I, Yang Tian, survived these 5 days?" He did not have a single cent on him. If he wasn't sleeping in the forest, he would be sleeping under the bridge. He had not eaten a full meal. His beard had not been shaved for 5 days, and there was even a hole in his shoes. "I'm AF * King B * star 2. I gave up my job as a general manager and a job with an annual salary of millions. I had to believe that B * starred old Yi. I started my journey to the north and lived by scavenging. Really, I feel disgusted looking at myself now. I want to go back. I miss my son. However, I know that Yi Chen and I will be in 2 different worlds if I go back. I can still be a general manager, and I can even be a CEO in the future. I don't have to scavenge anymore." Yang Tian sat on the ground and cried. He mumbled to himself like a lunatic, "I, Yang Tian, will never scavenge even if I starve to death." Grunt. At that moment, his stomach growled. Yang Tian patted the ragged sackcloth bag next to him and leaned his head on it directly, as if it was a treasure. His voice was so soft that it could not be heard. "Forget it, let's go to sleep. I'll get to the county early tomorrow morning and sell this thing to a trash collector. I can add another egg." Chapter 170. At night, Yuchen had been thinking about going to Beijing on his way back. The only thing that troubled him was how to convince his parents. After all, to his parents, the Su family was a wealthy family in Beijing. They were a giant, and it was difficult for an ordinary family like the Yi family to fight them. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's identity as a cultivator was too shocking, so he did not want his parents to find out too soon. He had to bring Meng Meng along. Yuhan had been separated from her daughter for 3 years. As the saying went, a mother and daughter were connected. Nothing was more important than letting Yuhan see her daughter at first glance. Yichen arrived home as he was thinking, but he still could not come up with a reason to convince his parents. Yichun was surprised to find out that his parents were still awake after entering the house. Meng Meng, on the other hand, was sleeping soundly in his mother's embrace. Yichen sat down and said calmly, "Dad, Mom, why aren't you guys resting yet? Your mom and I are discussing Wenwen's engagement banquet." His father, Yihai, took a puff of his cigarette, seeming to be in a dilemma. Yichen was slightly stunned. Engagement banquet? Yes, it's your second uncle's Wenwen's engagement banquet. His mother took over the conversation and explained, "Isn't your second uncle working in the development zone office at Nine Dragons Bay? I think he's the deputy director of the management committee. Coincidentally, his superior's son is pursuing Wenwen recently. Since your second aunt has been matchmaking, they got engaged within a few days. Now they're getting engaged in 3 days." Yichen was shocked. "Yuan is getting engaged?" Yihai sighed and said, "Your second aunt called us earlier. She invited us to attend the banquet, so your mother and I were discussing how many gifts we should give. Your second aunt has never welcomed us. She's calling us this time because she wants to brag to us," Wu Lan said, feeling rather indignant. Wu Lan said indignantly. Although she was not cultured, she could still distinguish the ways of the world. Yihai scolded her with a stern face. "You're too narrow-minded. We should go regardless of whether Xiaowei calls us or not. Moreover, Xiaochen's second uncle and Wenwen called too. I'm afraid that you'll embarrass yourself when you go," Wu Lan scoffed. Seeing that his parents were about to argue, Yichun said in between tears and laughter, "Dad, Mom, let's go. I'll pay for the gift. What's there to argue about? Okay, let's go together. Although our family is poor, we can't let outsiders talk behind our backs." Yihai nodded. Although Yi Chen agreed, he secretly sighed. If that was the case, it would take at least 3 days for him to go to Beijing. Soon, Yi Chen's mother carried Meng Meng back to their room to sleep with a gloomy face. Yi Chen and his son were the only ones left in the living room. Yihai was watching the evening news on the television. However, Yi Chen was a little absent-minded. He was wondering if he should tell his parents that he was going to Beijing. At that moment, the evening news ended. Yihai turned on the TV and got up, intending to return to his room. The moment he turned around, Yichen suddenly said, "Dad." Yihai turned around and looked at him with a confused expression. Yichen was instantly speechless. "All right, sleep early. I know what you're going to say. I'll take care of the gift." Yihai waved and peeped into the room secretly. He lowered his voice and said, "Your mom is the one who takes care of the money in our family. However, I've been hiding some money for the past 2 months. Don't tell your mom." Before he was done speaking, Wu Lan's suspicious voice came from the room. "What money?" Yihai jolted and returned to the room with a smile on his face. Yichen seemed to have heard something faintly. Cough, cough, cough. "I'll tell you that I've never hidden money." Yichen was speechless. At the same time, he felt a huge sense of relief. "Forget it if you don't want to tell me. I can't tell Yihai that your son went to the cultivation world during the 5 years that I disappeared. I cultivated for 3,000 years and became a heavenly emperor. Then, I came back out of nowhere. Not only is your son a cultivator, but he's also the mad southern Yi who's famous in China. He kills a person every 10 steps and is the Tianan #1. All the wealthy families in the entire Tianan have to look up to your son. Your son is an invisible tycoon with a net worth of over 10 billion yuan. Yihai would not faint from shock if he were to tell the truth. Instead, he would slap him. "I'm only 55 years old this year. I haven't reached the stage of Alzheimer's." He returned to the room as he thought to himself. In the second half of the night, a black puppy rolled its eyes and climbed out of the window. It ran to a clubhouse near the district. Damn you, Xiao Yezi. You went to the Hmong village and brought a snake back. Let's call it second brother for now. Although second brother is young, his temper is worse than mine. He's just a little dumb. I tricked him the day before yesterday, and he really stuck his tongue out to lick the socket of the electric board. Second brother, you're still too young to compete with me for my favor. I can kill you with just a little trick. The patriarch was chuckling as he walked. No, I have to work hard to cultivate. I can't let my second brother replace me. Otherwise, I might really become a pot of delicious dog meat. The next morning, Su Yue came when Yi Chun was cooking in the kitchen while his parents went to work. The first thing that the lady said was, "I'm going home." Yi Chun responded indifferently and proceeded to pick up the spatula to stir-fry the beef. His attitude made Su Yue mad. I said, "I'm going home. Aren't you going to say anything?" Yi Chun remained unmoved. "You bastard." Su Yue stomped her feet in anger. She said while clenching her teeth, "Let me ask you, did you become so powerful because you disappeared for 5 years?" She had mixed feelings about Yi Chun. She thought he was just a piece of trash, but he turned out to be mad Southern Yi, who killed masters like dogs. That aside, most importantly, his female disciple had become extremely powerful too. Su Yue would never forget that when she invited Xiaoye to dinner at the hotel, she took the opportunity to make things difficult for Guo Sheng to fight Xiaoye. In the end, Xiaoye defeated Guo Sheng completely. Meanwhile, Su Yue was slapped twice by Xiaoye in public. Her face was swollen for 2 days. Seeing that Yi Chun was silent, Su Yue said while suppressing her rage, "Don't you want to save my sister?" Yi Chun turned around and looked at her with a rather sharp gaze. "I'll give you 5 minutes. Scram after you're done." Su Yue was shocked by his gaze. She said while stammering, "Why our family has underestimated you. Your ability is enough for our family to take you seriously. What I mean is that you should come to the Su residence with me. I'll talk to my second brother. He should agree to you being with my sister." Scram. Su Yue looked at him blankly. "Yi Chun, why you really want to be my family's enemy? You'll only harm yourself if you do that. You can't imagine how powerful my second brother is. So what if I'm your family's enemy?" Yi Chun suddenly smiled. "Since when do I, Yi Chun, need your family to take me seriously? Our current situation is all thanks to your Su family. What I want is to make your Su family despair, fear, and tremble. Are you going to destroy my family?" Su Yue's voice was extremely sharp as disbelief filled her face. Scram. I'll kill you right now if you say another word. Chapter 171. In the morning 3 days later at Dongda Hotel. It was a 5-star hotel in Lin City that was only second to the auspicious manor. However, the entire hotel was booked today. There were 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside. It was crowded and it was bustling. There were all sorts of festive decorations at the entrance of the hotel. Countless well-trained hostesses stood at the entrance, welcoming the guests one after another with a warm smile. Today was Yi Wen's engagement day. Yi Ming and Yang Hui, who were in formal attire, stood at the entrance and greeted the guests who passed by passionately. In the hotel, Yi Wen wore a white gown and a white silk glove while holding a young man gently with her right hand. The young man wore a branded suit and had rather handsome features. He could not stop smiling at the guests around him as he held Yi Wen. Compared to his smile, Yi Wen seemed much colder. Her beautiful eyes would look out of the hotel every now and then. She could not help but feel a little disappointed when she realized that the person she was waiting for was not among the guests. The young man could not help but ask softly upon noticing her odd behavior, "What are you looking at?" "Nothing." Yi Wen shook her head and secretly sighed. It seemed like her cousin would not be coming today. The young man observed the crowd and said while frowning, "Your cousin's family isn't here yet. Perhaps they have something to do," Yi Wen said while smiling. "Something?" The young man's expression could not help but turn grim. He was the son of the management committee's director after all. He also ran a real estate company, so he was considered a celebrity in the entire Lin City. As soon as the engagement news was announced, countless business celebrities came in advance. Even his father, Su Yuanhong's friends in the political world, were there. However, a poor relative of the Yi family was not here. Was he trying to embarrass him? Su Zhong scoffed and walked to his father, Su Yuanhong's table to toast him, leaving Yi Wen behind. At the hotel entrance, seeing that almost all the guests had arrived, Yang Hui looked at the time and looked at Yi Ming rather coldly. Look at that brother of yours. It's already so late, and he's still not here. Does he really think that his family is some big shot? Playing the game of being the last to appear. He must have something to do. Yi Ming shook his head helplessly and took out his phone. Should I call him and ask? A faint chuckle came. There's no need to fight. Second uncle, we're here. Yang Hui and Yi Ming lifted their heads to look. They saw Yi Chen walking in front while carrying his daughter, Meng Meng. Meanwhile, Yi Hai and Wu Lan were following behind him. They were dressed rather formally, but they were not eye-catching. Yang Hui's expression turned completely grim when she saw Yi Chen's family coming empty-handed. The others brought all sorts of gifts such as home appliances and sofas, but they came empty-handed. Second uncle, I'm really sorry. I ran into a situation along the way, so I'm late. Yi Chen walked to Yi Ming and smiled apologetically. I'm fine. Yi Ming waved and walked to Yi Hai immediately while smiling. Brother, sister-in-law, since you're here, come in and take a seat. Congratulations, second brother. Your Wenwen has finally found her own happiness. We're old now. Yi Hai sighed and was about to follow Yi Ming in as he spoke. At that moment, Yang Hui suddenly said, Wait, you took a taxi here? Why is it that no one else is blocking, but you guys? A friend of Xiao Chen's drove me here, but the car broke down halfway. Wu Lan could not help but say. Yang Hui chuckled. Why didn't you guys call us? Perhaps we would have gotten Su Zhong to pick you guys up in his Mercedes. She said the word Mercedes extremely loudly, as if Yi Chen and the rest could not hear her. All right, stop talking. How could Yi Ming not hear the boasting in his wife's words? He glared at her with a grim expression. Yang Hui ignored him and said, Since we're all family, I'll make it clear. Most of the people here today are Su Zhong's business friends, as well as his in-laws. They're all rich and powerful, so try not to talk and eat more when you're inside. Yi Chen frowned. Wu Lan looked furious. She seemed to want to say something, but Yi Hai pulled the corner of her shirt. Yi Hai said with an unnatural expression, We understand, sister-in-law. Yang Hui scoffed and walked in first. Yi Ming looked awkward. Brother, that's just how Yang Hui is. Don't take it to heart. Let's go in. They walked into the hotel under his lead. Yi Hai lowered his voice and asked while walking, Xiao Chen, I think your second aunt is a little upset because we didn't bring a gift. Didn't you say that you prepared a gift? Where is it? It's still on the way, Yi Chen said. The hotel was already filled with people. As Yi Chen and the rest walked in, countless eyes were trained on them at that moment. There were different figures in their eyes, but most of them were sneers and disdain. Yi Wen, who was listening to Su Zhong's mother's lecture on the third floor, had her beautiful eyes lit up. She walked to the first floor quickly while everyone was watching and welcomed them. Brother, you guys are here. Yi Chen nodded. Yi Hai and Wu Lan said, while smiling sincerely, Congratulations, Wenwen. Let your father have a grandson soon. Uncle, Auntie, thank you. Yi Wen smiled shyly and held her head down in embarrassment. Yang Hui said angrily, All right, Wenwen, what are you doing down here instead of accompanying your future mother-in-law? Go now. Don't let people say that you're ill-mannered. Mom, I like to talk to my cousin and the rest. Yi Wen was a little hesitant. Yang Hui was enraged. All right, it's a happy day today. Don't make a fuss and make a fool of yourself, Yi Ming said while frowning. Yi Wen nodded lightly and gave Yi Chen an apologetic smile. She then turned around to go upstairs. Brother, let's go up. I'll introduce some people to you, Yi Ming said while smiling and took the initiative to walk in front. After they went up to the third floor, they saw a table with approximately 7 to 8 people sitting before it. There was a middle-aged woman sitting in the middle. The man had a square face and looked majestic without being angry. The woman looked extremely luxurious and well-maintained. She looked like she was in her 30s. Brother, let me introduce you guys. This is the director of the management committee, Su Yuanhong. This is Su Zhong. Yi Ming introduced Su Zhong and the rest each other. Yi Hai extended his hand cautiously when he heard that Su Yuanhong was the director of the Development Zone's Management Committee. Director Su, I've seen you on TV a long time ago. I can't believe that the Yi and Su families are together. Su Yuanhong frowned, facing Yi Chen's politeness. He said softly, I don't have the habit of shaking hands with people. The smile on Yi Hai's face froze. At that moment, the air was a little heavy. A cold smirk appeared at the corner of Su Zhong's lips. Yang Hui pretended not to see that. Meanwhile, the middle-aged woman sitting next to Su Yuanhong looked at Yi Chen's family with disdain. Yi Wen's pretty face had a slight change of expression. Yi Ming's expression turned grim at that moment. He looked at Su Yuanhong rather unhappily, even though this person was his superior and his future-in-law. Chapter 172. Yi Chen squinted and was going to step forward. However, Yi Hai held him back tightly. I'm sorry. I forgot that I didn't wash my hands before I left today. It's good that we don't shake hands. Yi Hai stretched his hand back immediately and smiled awkwardly. He found a way out of this embarrassing situation. He secretly pulled the corner of Yi Chen's shirt after speaking, signaling him not to act rashly. It was a joyous occasion for Yi Ming's family today. As his brother, he should be magnanimous and not embarrass everyone. Yi Chen squinted and glanced at Su Yuanhong. He then glanced at Yi Wen, who was begging him. He said nothing eventually. At that moment, Su Zhong lifted his head slightly to look at Yi Chen. He asked, I wonder what's your job now, Brother Yi? Yi Chen did not even look at such an ant. He got his parents to sit down. Oh, him? He's unemployed now. Yang Hui could not help but reply for Yi Chen. However, Yi Wen and Yi Ming glared at her. She then shut her mouth, looking like she did not care at all. Jobless? Jobless? He's already an adult. Shouldn't he find a job and work hard? The middle-aged lady next to Su Yuanhong said in a sarcastic tone. Su Zhong chuckled softly. The disdain in his eyes was getting more obvious. My company needs someone to look after the construction site. Since you're Wenwen's cousin, look for me at the office tomorrow. Su Zhong, what do you mean by that? Yi Wen's pretty face turned cold. She had no idea why Su Zhong's family was so arrogant. If she had known earlier, she would not have agreed to get engaged to Su Zhong no matter what. Besides, your so-called pride is worthless in my cousin's eyes. I don't mean anything. Aren't I helping your relative? Su Zhong said coldly. You're going to be my family soon. Who are you helping? Yi Ming took a deep breath in and said while suppressing his rage, Su Zhong, it's getting late. Get the dishes to be served. He was disappointed with Su Zhong. I'm sorry, Brother Yi. I have something to deal with, so I'll make a move first. Have fun. Su Yuanhong suddenly stood up and said. Yi Ming's expression changed, and he said coldly, Su Yuanhong, what do you mean by that? Haha, what do you mean by that? That's what I wanted to ask you. Su Yuanhong chuckled out loud. Yi Ming, it's your family's blessing that my family likes your daughter. Everyone is here, but your relatives are late. Are you trying to slap me in the face? Are you saying that you want to break off the engagement? Yi Ming was pissed. Su Yuanhong said coldly, You said it yourself. I understand. Yi Ming nodded and turned his head to look at Yi Wen, who was standing aside. Wenwen, I'm asking you officially. Do you really like Su Zhong? As soon as he said that, Su Zhong smiled proudly. He did not seem nervous at all. Instead, he looked at Yi Wen wryly. Su Yuanhong was disdainful. To him, Yi Ming was no exception. The reason why he agreed to marry his daughter to his son was that he was interested in his political resources. What are you doing, Yi Ming? Yang Hui's expression changed slightly. She seemed to have noticed Yi Ming's intention. Shut up, Yi Ming suddenly shouted at her. Why are you interrupting when the men are talking? Yi Ming, why you? Yang Hui's eyes were wide open as she looked at him in disbelief. She seemed to have never thought that her husband would be so domineering all of a sudden. Yi Ming took a deep breath in and mocked. I've tolerated you for 25 years since you married me. No matter how stingy, mean, or petty you are, I won't hold it against you. He paused as he spoke to this point and pointed at Yi Hai next to him. But Yi Hai, is my brother. We share the same mother. My parents died early. If my brother didn't take care of me when I was young, Yi Ming, would have died a long time ago. When I was 5 years old, I had a high fever. It was my older brother who carried me for more than 50 kilometers to the town to see a doctor. He walked from dawn to dusk. My older brother struggled to carry me to the entrance of the hospital before he fainted. At that time, my older brother was only 8 years old. That's why I survived. My parents aren't around. An older brother is like a father. I've told you this many times, but what did you do? Yiming's lips were shaking. You were afraid that I would give money to my brother secretly, so you guarded against me, especially when Meng Meng was sick. You even went through my wallet in the middle of the night. Yang Hui, are you really that cold-blooded? Why are you so mean? Yihai turned his head away and rubbed his eyes. He turned his head and said while forcing a smile, "All right, that's enough. That's all in the past." Wulon covered her mouth and cried quietly. Yang Hui was speechless for a long time, as if she was struck by lightning. Yuan suddenly walked to Yihai and knelt on the ground in all seriousness. She kowtowed 3 times. "Uncle, our family has let you down, especially my mother and I. I'm here to apologize to you." She had no idea about all that. Get up now." Yihai stretched his arm out to help her up immediately. He said while sobbing, "Your father is right. We're brothers by blood. Since we're family, there's no need to be so polite." Yuan wiped her tears and got up to look at Yiming. She enunciated word for word, "Dad, I'll answer your question now. In reality, I don't like Su Zhong at all. The reason why I agreed to get engaged to him was because my mom kept forcing me." Su Zhong was stunned as soon as she was done speaking. Su Zhong and Yang Hui were both stunned. The smile at the corner of Su Yuanhong's lips froze. "Great!" Yiming laughed out loud. He turned around to look at Su Yuanhong and his son. "You guys heard what my daughter said. It's fine if we don't get engaged. Guys, do whatever you want. Yiming, you must think this through." Su Yuanhong said with a grim expression. "There's no need to think about it." Yiming waved. "My Yi family can't compare to your Su family. My woman doesn't deserve your son. All right, since you're going to fall out with me, I'm not afraid to say something harsh. This is the end of your career as the deputy director of the management committee. Let's go." Su Yuanhong flung his sleeve and was about to leave. "Wait," a cold voice came. Yichen got up slowly and walked to Su Yuanhong. He looked at him extremely coldly. "Did I allow you guys to leave? What? Are you going to bite us? You piece of trash." Su Zhong laughed out of rage. Su Yuanhong was laughing out of anger too. "Young man, I admire your courage, but do you know who you've offended?" "Oh, I'd like to hear about it." Yichen gave a short response. Su Yuanhong said with a fake smile, "My senior brother is Director Xiao of the city's Public Security Bureau. Do you believe that a phone call from me can put you in jail for 8 to 10 years? Then, do you know who you've offended?" Yichen picked up a banana from the ground and gave it to his daughter, who was in his embrace after peeling it. Xiao Chun asked them to leave. Yiming's expression changed. At that moment, a voice came from the first floor. "Director Xiao of the city's Public Security Bureau is here." Everyone was shocked. What was happening? Even such a tough boss was here. Su Yuanhong was stunned at first. Then he was over the moon. "You're dead meat. Director Xiao is here." As soon as he said that, Yihai, Yiming, and the rest had a change of expression. Su Zhong glanced at them proudly. Now, he knew that it was useless to regret. Soon, a middle-aged man in casual clothes walked up. A middle-aged man in casual clothes walked over. Su Yuanhong hurriedly greeted him with a face full of smiles. Senior brother, however, Director Xiao seemed to not see him. He walked straight to Yi Chun and said in a slightly respectful tone, "Greetings, Master Yi." Dead silence filled the place. Su Yuanhong looked like he had turned into stone. Yihai, Yiming, and the rest were dumbstruck. The welcoming voice came again. "Director of Oshan International Fashion Company, Limited, Ms. O Lan is here. Director of Emperor Building Materials Company, Mr. Huang Hao is here. Director of Ingjia Technology, Mr. Zhao Jian is here. Director of Hongtai Entertainment, El Lin Tai is here. Director of the Han family, Old Master Han, Han Helen is here. G Old Master Gu of the Gu family, and Ms. Gu Yingying are here." There were more than 30 people greeting the guests. All of them were well-known business tycoons in the Southern Heaven region, and some of them were even big shots in the political circles. Lin Tai, also known as Brother Leopard, could be considered the underground emperor of the entire Lin city. They did not expect him to be here too. What shocked them the most was that even the old masters of the two wealthy families in Tianan, the Han family and the Gu family, were here too. Those two were old seniors who could shake Tianan by stomping their feet. It was not an exaggeration to describe them as highly respected. Gasp! The crowd gasped. They were dizzy from the series of names, and their legs were shaking. Su Yuanhong, Su Zhong, and the rest were completely stunned. Yi Ming was dumbstruck. I don't think I've invited these bosses for my daughter's engagement, have I? Moreover, even if I did, they wouldn't come. Why do they look like they're at a market now? Before they could think too much about it, old Master Gu and an old man with gray hair led tens of people over. Everyone walked to Yichun. Old Master Gu took the lead and clasped his fists. "Greetings, Master Yi." Subsequently, he said to Yi Ming, who was dumbstruck while smiling, "Congratulations, Mr. Yi. You've given birth to a great daughter." Just when Yi Ming was going to speak, a stuttering voice came from outside again. Dianan's Chao family, Zhao family, Lu family, Xiangnan Zhang family, Wen family, and Feng family are kneeling at the door. They're asking to see Master Yi. Hearing that, everyone felt their vision go black, and they almost fainted onto the ground. All the wealthy families in the entire Tianan were here. Moreover, they were kneeling at the door just to see Master Yi. Yi Ming, Yi Hai, Yang Hui, Su Yuanhong, Su Zhong, and the rest looked at Yi Chun with shock in their eyes. If they remembered correctly, those people called Yi Chun Master Yi earlier. Su Yuanhong gulped hard. He felt like he had gotten himself into big trouble. Yi Chun said to the greeter downstairs without even lifting his head, "Make them kneel." Chapter 173. Let them continue to kneel. Yi Chun's voice was neither loud nor soft, but spread to every corner of the 3 floors of the Donda Hotel. Everyone felt dizzy. The people outside were the wealthy families of the entire Tianan. Any one of them could shake Tianan by stomping their feet. Who exactly was this Master Yi? Forget that he did not welcome him personally. He even made them continue to kneel. Only a portion of them were stunned at first. Subsequently, their expressions changed drastically as horror filled their eyes. They seemed to have recalled who Master Yi was. They jolted and looked at the 3rd floor with burning passion and respect in their eyes. Master Yi was in this hotel too. However, most of them were secretly waiting to see what would happen to Yi Chun. This Master Yi was courting death since he dared to make all the wealthy families of Tianan kneel. Even the receptionist at the door was no exception. She was stunned for a moment and walked outside while suppressing her shock. She stammered to the few people kneeling at the door, "Master." Master Yi said to continue kneeling. She was prepared to be scolded after saying that. However, to her shock, those people nodded at the same time and said, "Sure, please tell Master Yi that we're wrong. As long as Master Yi can forgive us, we're willing to kneel for as long as we can." "Sure." The receptionist's body trembled slightly. She turned around with difficulty and said to the 3rd floor, "And Master Yi, they said that as long as you can forgive them, they're willing to kneel for as long as." Gasp. The entire Donda Hotel gasped. It was dead silence on the 3rd floor of the hotel. Su Yuanhong remained where he was earlier. If one were to look closely, one would notice that his entire body was shaking. Sweat the size of beans was dripping from his hair. No matter how dumb he was, he knew what was going on. There were so many bosses here today, and all of them were here for Yi Chun. Any one of them could destroy the Song family. Who exactly did I offend? He could not stop screaming in his heart, feeling regretful. Fear filled Su Zhong's face. He had lost the arrogance and pride he had earlier. His lips were shaking as he repeated, "How is this possible? How is this possible?" Yi Chun's parents and Yi Wen's family were the most shocked. Yi Wen was still fine. After all, she knew that her cousin was Master Yi. Yi Hai, Wu Lan, and Yi Ming, on the other hand, were dumbfounded. They instinctively thought that these people had gotten the wrong person. Yang Hui's face twitched hard. She forced a smile that looked uglier than crying. "Yi Chun, why do they call you Master Yi?" "Because I am Grandmaster Yi." Subsequently, He glanced at the dozens of people standing before him expressionlessly. He did not know many of them and had never seen them before. His gaze rested on Old Man Gu and Old Man Han for a moment, and he immediately understood. The Gu family wanted to use today's engagement banquet to promote themselves and the Yi family. Unfortunately, part of Yi Chen's identity was exposed. Xiao Chun this. Yi Hai could not help but ask. Dad, I'll explain to you later. Yi Chun smiled, and his gaze turned cold gradually. Which one of you is Chief Xiao of the Linen City Public Security Bureau? Come out and let me have a look. As soon as he was done speaking, a middle-aged man with a potbelly and casual clothes walked out. He was all smiles. Master Yi, that's me. Yi Chen took a good look at him and pointed at Su Yuanhong before him. Do you know this person? Su Yuanhong closed his eyes in despair. Su Yuanhong closed his eyes in despair. Oh no, everything was over. On the other hand, Su Zhong seemed to have seen his savior. He said as if he was asking for help, Uncle Xiao, it's me Xiao Zhong. Chief Xiao glanced at the father and son coldly. He then shook his head numbly. Master Yi, I don't know any of them. Plop. Su Yuanhong fell onto the ground. Uncle Xiao. Why? Su Zhong stared at Chief Xiao in disbelief with his eyes wide open. He could not believe that Uncle Xiao, who treated him like his godson, would be so cold now. You really don't know him? Yi Chen looked at Chief Xiao suspiciously and said while smiling. Director Su just said that he's someone I can't afford to offend. He even said that you're his backer. As long as he calls you, you'll arrest me and put me in jail for 8 to 10 years. Grandmaster Yi, I really don't know this person. I think he often uses my reputation to intimidate others. Chief Zhao's heart sank. Then, he said with a straight face, Don't worry. Given that the father and son's behavior has damaged the image of the public servants of the country, I will definitely pursue this matter to the end. I will not let any black sheep off. Hearing this, Su Yuanhong's scalp tingled. He knew that his family's fate had been thrown into the abyss. He knelt before Yi Chen immediately in fear and kowtowed, like he was pounding garlic. Grandmaster Yi, it was me who looked down on you. I had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai and offended you. I apologize to you here. Please let us go. We're willing to continue our engagement with Yi Ming. Su Zhong looked at Yi Chen in resentment and said, Dad, get up now. Don't beg him. Beast, shut up. Su Yuanhong turned his head and glared at him ferociously. Idiot, don't you know what's going on? This person before us is the king of Tiannan. As soon as we offend him, even if we're clean, we'll be slandered. Yi Ming and Yang Hui watched that with a complicated expression. The director of the management committee was kneeling before his nephew and begging for mercy. Especially Yang Hui. The reason why she wanted to matchmake her daughter with Su Zhong was that she liked the Su family's background. She thought that they were wealthy. However, she only found out now. Her useless nephew, Yi Chen, was the real wealthy. All wealthy families had to look up to him. Bada. Yi Chen lit a cigarette slowly and lifted his left leg to step on the table. He said expressionlessly, My shoes seem to be a little dirty. I'll wipe them for you. How could Su Yuanhong not understand what he meant? He knelt a few steps forward immediately and wiped Yi Chen's Playboy casual shoes that he bought for over 100 yuan with the sleeve of his branded suit. His movements were practiced and experienced. He would lift his head to smile at Yi Chen from time to time. One look, and one could tell that he had been practicing. Su Zhong watched everything with his eyes wide open. The father that he was so proud of, the father that could do whatever he wanted, was wiping shoes for the useless man in his eyes like a shoe shine on the street. Yi Chen flicked a pile of cigarette ash onto his face. His voice was extremely cold. I meant for you to lick them. Chapter 174. I mean, you can lick it. As soon as Yi Chen said that, Su Yuanhong's face went stiff, and a look of rage and humiliation flashed across his face. However, he didn't dare to do anything. Yi, don't cross the line. Su Zhong walked over immediately and grabbed Su Yuanhong. He glared at Yi Chen hatefully. Pa! Yi Chen slapped him onto the ground. He lifted his foot and stepped on his face, deforming it. He looked down at him in a condescending manner. The reason why I'm ignoring you is that I can't be bothered to talk to you. Do you really think you're somebody? Su Zhong panted heavily while his eyes were bloodshot. He wanted to struggle, but Yi Chen stomped on him tightly. He had never been treated like this before. Yi Chen said coldly, "Your pride is nothing in my eyes. My Yi family doesn't need any wealthy families because I, Yi Chen, am one. Because I, Yi Chen, am rich." As soon as he said that, none of the big shots present dared to utter a single word of objection. Instead, they secretly nodded in admiration. Yes, people like Grandmaster Yi did not need to seek connections with wealthy families. Wealthy families were not even worth mentioning in his eyes. The Lord did not see. The Song family of Jiangbei was almost wiped out by him. Only the women, children, and some servants were left. Su Yuanhong's mother, who was standing aside, shrieked when she saw what happened to her son and husband. She charged at Yi Chen while baring her fangs, seeming to want to fight him. Pa! A heavy slap landed on her face, causing her to fall to the ground and powder to fall all over the floor. She wanted to stand up by instinct, but she met Yi Chen's cold gaze. "If you dare move again, I'll kill you right now." She couldn't help but shiver, and her face turned pale. She was scared to the point of peeing in front of everyone. Su Yuanhong's heart ached, and it was too late for regrets as he said, "Grandmaster Yi, please don't attack anymore. As long as you're willing to let us go, I'm willing to do anything." At that moment, Yi Hai and Yi Ming said in unison, "Forget it, Xiaochen. Let them go." Yi Chen nodded and enunciated word for word while looking at Su Yuanhong and his son. "Let me ask you guys, are you guys convinced now?" "I'm convinced. I'm convinced." Su Yuanhong nodded repeatedly. Yi Chen turned his gaze to Su Zhong beneath his feet. Su Zhong instinctively wanted to retaliate, but after sensing Yi Chen's murderous intent, all his hatred was instantly replaced by fear. "I surrender, I surrender. Get lost." Yi Chen retracted his legs slowly. Su Yuanhong's family of three held onto each other and ran faster than rabbits under everyone's complicated gaze. They seemed to be afraid that Yi Chen would change his mind. Yi Chen then turned around to look at Yi Ming next to him. He smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry, second uncle. I ruined a great engagement party. It's not your fault. I was blind earlier. I didn't expect the Su family to be that kind of people." Yi Ming sighed. He had always been against this engagement banquet, but his wife, Yang Hui, had always taken the lead. However, it was good that something like this had happened today. It could be said that he had seen the true colors of the Su father and son, so that his daughter would not have to suffer when she married into the Su family in the future. Yang Hui was still standing at the side in a daze. It was obvious that she had not recovered from the previous scene. Yi Hai took a deep look at his son. At this moment, he felt that he couldn't understand what was going on. He opened his mouth to ask something, but because there were so many people present, he couldn't bring himself to ask. "Brother, I'm sorry. It could be said that today's farce was purely caused by the Su family. It's fine as long as you don't blame me." Yi Chen smiled calmly and subsequently looked at the 30-odd people before him. Old Master Gu stood before the crowd and clasped his fists. He looked guilty. "Master Yi, it's my family's fault for what happened earlier. I hope you, Old Master Gu, there's no need to say anything. Please preserve the last shred of dignity for us." Yi Chen interrupted him directly. What he needed were friends and allies, not fence-sitters and fair-weather friends. When you're rich and powerful, you're surrounded by a group of people who love you from the bottom of their hearts. When you're in trouble, these people scatter like birds and beasts, afraid of being implicated. Old Master Gu forced a smile upon hearing that. Gu Yingying, who was standing aside, had a slight change of expression on her pretty face. She seemed to want to say something, but she was stopped by the old master's stare. The grandfather and granddaughter clasped their fists at Yi Chen and turned around to leave. Gu Yingying could not help but ask when they walked out of Dongda Hotel, "Grandpa, our family is different from them. At least we didn't betray Master Yi." "But why, silly girl?" Old Master Gu shook his head helplessly. "This world isn't as simple as right and wrong, black and white. No matter what, our family is wrong, Master Yi. Forget it, let's go back." "Then, aren't we getting further away from Master Yi?" Gu Yingying turned her head and looked at the hotel's direction reluctantly. The old master glanced at the few people kneeling at the hotel entrance and sighed softly. One's always afraid of making the wrong choice in life, and you'll have to pay the price for making the wrong choice. After old Master Gu left, Yichen looked at the remaining people before him. His expression softened as he chuckled softly. Thank you for coming today. I understand what you guys mean. Let's continue like before. As long as you guys don't offend me, we'll all be fine. We wouldn't dare. The 20 to 30 people present shook their heads at the same time. They smiled apologetically, and there was no sign of them blushing when their thoughts were exposed. Yichen's battle record had truly shocked them. He killed masters and destroyed wealthy families for no reason. If they did not come to build a relationship with him personally, it would be too late to regret if something really happened in the future. Yiming said rather cautiously, "It's rare for all of you to come. Why don't you leave after dinner?" "There's no need for that. We have something to do." The people declined and took out a bank card each and placed it on the table. There was even a password on the card. They then left one after another. "Xiaochen, what do they mean by this?" Yiming looked confused as he looked at the tins of bank cards that appeared on the table all of a sudden. Yichun said while smiling, "Second uncle, this is their gift money to your family. Take it. Otherwise, they won't be able to eat or sleep well." "Listen to what you're saying. They're giving me money, but I don't want it. Are you saying that they won't be able to eat or sleep well?" Yiming was in between tears and laughter. He felt like he was dreaming. Yichen smiled and said nothing. He thought to himself, "That's true. These people know that I, Yichun, am not interested in that bit of money. They don't have the capital to suck up to me, so they're targeting your family. It's considered sucking up to me indirectly." Yihai looked at the bank cards on the table, feeling rather envious. Subsequently, he asked, "Xiaochun, what about those people kneeling outside?" Yichen's expression turned rather grim as he said to the hostess downstairs, "Get them to come in." Soon the crowd was shocked. As everyone watched in shock, they saw 6 old men in traditional attire walk quickly to the 3rd floor of the hotel. As soon as they arrived, they knelt before Yichen at the same time. They were very humble. Yihai, Yiming, and the rest were dumbstruck again. Yichen stood with his arms behind his back and looked at them expressionlessly. "Leave 1 billion each, and I won't pursue what happened in the past." 1 billion. And it was 1 billion per person. As soon as he finished speaking, Yihai's body trembled, and he was so shocked that he almost cried out. The 6 of them had a slight change in expression. Among them, Xiaonan Zhang family head gritted his teeth and said, "My Zhang family has no objections, but I'll have to go back and gather the money." With him taking the lead, the others hurriedly followed suit. "We have no objections either." "All right, we're even now." Yichen nodded and said coldly, "But before I leave, I have something to tell you guys. All of my family members were there, and you guys know them. If anything happens to them, I'll blame it on you guys." His words seemed calm, but it caused the temperature in the room to suddenly drop by several tens of degrees. Chapter 175. That night, inside the Nine Dragons Bay villa, Yichen sat on the couch, helplessly. He was surrounded by his parents and second uncle's family, as if they were interrogating a criminal. Yichen's father, Yihai, took a few cautious glances at the luxurious decorations in the villa. After the engagement party ended, Yichen brought them here. The shock in Yihai and Wu Lan's hearts lingered when they found out that the villa that was worth over 50 million belonged to Yichen. This was a villa. They had never thought about it in their lives. Compared to their shock, Yiming was much calmer. After all, he had already found out that the villa belonged to Yichen. He coughed and looked at Yichen in a judgmental manner. "Xiaochen, why are they calling you Master Yi?" As soon as he said that, apart from Yuan, the rest looked at Yichen one after another, especially his parents. Their expressions seemed to be saying, "If you dare to hide this from us again, we'll beat you to death." Indeed, the engagement banquet during the day gave them a huge shock. It was not an exaggeration to describe it as terrifying. Not only did all the bosses in Tian'an come uninvited, but they were also respectful to Yichen. Even the mayor did not receive such treatment. The most shocking thing was that the masters of the few wealthy families in Tian'an knelt to Yichen. They even promised to transfer 1 billion to Yichen's account within 3 days before they left. Yichen's second aunt, Yang Hui, hid behind Yiming. She dared not look Yi Chun in the eye, as she was afraid that he would take revenge on her. Yi Chun could only shake his head when he realized that he could no longer hide the fire. He stretched his arm out slightly, and a fireball the size of an adult's fist appeared in his palm. As soon as the fireball appeared, the temperature in the living room suddenly rose a lot. Even though they were far away, they could still feel the blazing heat. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared blankly at this scene. Fire appeared out of thin air. Other than a magician, they didn't dare to think of anything else. Even Yi Wan, who knew that Yi Chun was powerful, could not help but cover her red lips as shock filled her pretty face. Yi Chun glanced at them and said, "Dad, Mom, second uncle, there's something that I've been hiding from you guys. In reality, I had a fortuitous encounter during the 5 years that I disappeared and obtained supernatural power." After saying that, he put away the fireball in his palm. With a thought, he used a frost spell. A ball of cold air instantly appeared in his palm, and finally, his entire hand was covered in a thick layer of ice, like a hand of frost. Superpower? Yihai's lips trembled. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. The scene in front of him was just too shocking. Not bad. Yi Chun nodded and lifted his arm to press the redwood table before him softly. A palm print the size of a palm appeared on the table. The palm print was 5 to 6 inches deep. Yang Hui jolted upon seeing that. Her face was extremely pale, and she almost fainted from shock. She was secretly relieved that Yi Chun had never attacked her before. In short, with this ability, I can change my own fate and even control the life and death of others. That's why the people that you guys saw during the day are so afraid of me. They're afraid of me, and they respect me. Yi Chun stopped talking as he spoke to this point. Instead, he looked at his parents and the rest quietly. He knew that they might not be able to accept all of this anytime soon. Fortunately, he did not tell them that he had actually gone to the cultivation world during the 5 years that he had disappeared. In the end, he had even gone to the immortal world to become a heavenly emperor. Moreover, he did not tell them that he had killed 5 martial Dao masters and hundreds of people within 2 months of returning to Earth. Otherwise, his parents might have gone crazy. The house fell into dead silence. It was so quiet that they could only hear each other's heavy breathing. "Stop talking. Let me digest this." Yihai took a deep breath in and could not stop pacing in the house while holding his chest. He seemed to be having a hard time with his heart. Yi Ming, on the other hand, was the first to snap back to his senses. He laughed out loud, and his voice was shaking. "Brother, there's a real dragon in my family. A real dragon from the 9 heavens. The Yi family's ancestors have been poor farmers for 8 generations. It was Yi Ming's generation that they barely got out of poverty. They no longer had to stay in the village and farm. However, it was nothing compared to Yi Chen's current strength. He was nowhere to be seen. During the day, all the bosses in the entire Tiannan came to worship Yi Chun. His nephew had become the Master Yi that they looked up to. Was he not a real dragon from the 9 heavens? No matter what you've become, you're still my son. I'll still beat you up if you don't listen to me." Yihai sighed and said weakly, "I just want to know if the country will capture you for human research, since so many people know that you have such great abilities." That was what he was most worried about. Wulan scoffed and said, "I'll fight whoever dares to capture my son." Yi Chun was in between tears and laughter. Yi Chun did not know whether to laugh or to cry. However, he felt warm inside. This was what parents should do. He shook his head and said, "Dad, perhaps you guys don't know this, but there are many people like me in this world. They're called ancient martial artists. They're similar to the martial arts experts in novels. It's legal, and they won't be captured for research." Yihai heaved a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. At that moment, Yi Chen's second aunt, Yang Hui, walked out. She looked at Yi Chun in guilt. "Xiao Chun, I apologize to you here. I shouldn't have treated you guys like that. I'm too snobbish. I'm sorry." However, Yi Chun said nothing. He had nothing against his second uncle, Yi Ming, and the misunderstanding between him and Yi Wen had been resolved. The only thing that bothered him was his second aunt. It was not a matter of being considerate. Before he returned to Earth, his daughter was sick. His parents could not get help even when they begged for help. They had no choice but to borrow money from loan sharks. Moreover, they were only short of 10,000 yuan. Was 10,000 yuan a lot? As the closest person to Yi Chen's family, not only did Yang Hui not help them, but she also added insult to injury. She even stopped her second uncle, Yi Ming, from helping Yi Chen's family. Yang Hui could not help but look at Yi Ming for help upon noticing that Yi Chen said nothing. Yi Ming turned his head away, pretending that he did not see anything. It was the barrier between the two families. If Yi Chen's family did not say anything, the barrier would never be removed. Yang Hui looked at her daughter again. Yuan moved her lips, looking like she could not bear it. However, she said nothing eventually. Her face turned pale at that moment. She forced a smile and was going to kneel. "It's my fault. I'll kneel to you now." Before she knelt, she felt a strange force coming from her knees. It was like a pair of invisible hands were holding her legs, preventing her from kneeling. At the same time, Yi Chen's cold voice came into her ears. "How can a senior kneel to a junior? Although I, Yi Chen, am arrogant, I know that filial piety comes first. I also know how to respect the old and love the young. All right, second aunt, our family forgives you." "Thank you." Yang Hui's eyes turned red as endless regret filled her heart. If she was forced by the situation earlier, then she had truly woken up at that moment. "That's right, shall we? Let bygones be bygones. You must remember that we'll always be a family. That's the truth that nobody can change," Yi Hai said with a sigh. Yang Hui nodded while wiping her tears. Yi Chen thought about it and took out a car key from his pocket. He passed it to Yuan, who was standing aside. "This is the key to my Lamborghini. I wanted to give it to you at the engagement party, but it didn't go through. Take it as an apology gift." Lamborghini? The few of them in the house were so shocked that they could not speak. Yuan could not stop waving her hands. "It's too heavy. Brother, I don't want it." She had seen that Lamborghini before. It was a top-notch luxury car that cost tens of millions of yuan. "Take it." Yi Chen shoved the key to her forcefully and said, "My company is hiring at the moment. If you don't mind, go to my company and start as the vice president. I'll get someone to bring you there." Yi Chen and Yang Hui were shocked again. Yi Ming and Yang Hui were shocked again. "Xiao Chen, this." Yi Ming moved his lips. Yi Chen said while smiling, "All right, second uncle. Take it if you treat me as your family. You and my dad are brothers. We hope that everyone can live a better life." Yi Ming nodded in all seriousness. The two families chatted for over an hour before Yi Ming left with his wife and daughter. However, he was filled with emotions. "Ancestors of the Yi family, do you see this? Your descendant, Yi Chen, has grown up. Our Yi family is going to be successful from now on." At night, after Yi Chen's mother, Wu Lan, carried Meng Meng back to the room to sleep, Yi Hai turned the volume of the television to the highest. Yi Hai turned the volume of the TV to the highest. Subsequently, he took a good look at Yi Chen and asked all of a sudden, "Tell me the truth. Are you planning to go to Beijing?" Chapter 176. Yi Chen was secretly shocked as soon as he said that. "Dad, how did you find out?" In reality, he had been prepared to go to Beijing since a long time ago. However, Yuan's engagement party had delayed him for a few days, and he had yet to come up with an excuse. Since his identity had been exposed a little, he would tell Yi Hai even if he did not ask. "Because I know you." Yi Hai put the smile on his face away and said in all seriousness, "You like to hide things and shoulder everything alone. However, you've exposed something today. I won't talk about your identity. I know that you're going far away from the fact that you're giving us a car and getting Wenwen to work at your company. If it's a trip like last time, you'll definitely tell us. However, we didn't this time." Yi Hai could not go on as he spoke to this point. "That's right." Yi Chen nodded and said, "I'm going to Beijing tomorrow. I've been separated from Yuhan for 5 years. It's been 3 years since Meng Meng saw her mother." He looked at Yi Hai rather nervously when he was done speaking. "Dad, why you're not going to stop me, are you? What's the point of me stopping you? I've been nothing in my life, and I'm not ambitious. I didn't ask much of you in the past." Yi Hai fell into silence for a few seconds and mocked himself all of a sudden. "But who asked you to win the heart of the Su family's young mistress? You even gave birth to this girl, Meng Meng." Yi Chen was silent. Yi Hai walked to the cabinet and took out a bottle of white wine. He poured a glass for each of them. Your mom and I are old. Our biggest wish is for you to marry an ordinary woman and give birth to a fat grandson for us. We'll live a peaceful life together. He passed a glass of wine to Yi-chan as he spoke to this point. After the father and son clinked their glasses, he gulped down the wine and coughed. Your mom and I couldn't accept it when you brought Yuhan home in the beginning. Yi-chan took a sip and listened quietly. We couldn't accept it because Yuhan is too beautiful and outstanding. Your mom and I thought that you don't deserve her. Your mother and I panicked, especially after we found out about Yuhan's family background, because she's the daughter of a wealthy family. She's been pampered since she was young. How could she afford to be poor? However, the truth has proven that your mother and I are wrong. Yuhan is a good girl. Ever since she came to our house, she has been eating simple meals without any complaints. She even fought to do the housework at home. She's very filial to your mother and I. You're right. Yihai drank another glass and blushed. I discussed it with your mother later on. We had to get you and Yuhan together no matter what. Even if I had to sacrifice my face and kowtow to the Su family's door, we had to make this marriage happen. However, you disappeared. Yes, you disappeared. You disappeared for a whole 5 years. In a month after you disappeared, your mother and I almost went crazy because of you. If Yuhan hadn't found out that she was pregnant, your mother and I would have almost committed suicide. That's right. Yihai slammed the wine glass hard on the table. He stretched his arm out as if he was going to slap Yi-chun. However, he could not do it eventually. You're unfilial to your parents. Yi-chun knelt on the ground and said nothing. A year after you disappeared, Meng Meng was born. There was still no news about you. Your mother and I thought you were dead, but Yuhan was always at my house. Yihai did not wake him up. He proceeded to speak. Your mother and I thought that we shouldn't ruin Yuhan's happiness because of you. Therefore, we persuaded her to give up on you. However, Yuhan was determined. She said that even if you were really dead, she would take care of us and raise Meng Meng. Slap. Yihai slapped Yi-chan directly. It was a hard slap. You're unfilial because we didn't teach you well. However, you don't deserve to be a husband. You didn't do your duty to your wife and girlfriend. You must slap her. Although Yi-chan could have dodged the slap, he did not. Instead, he removed his physical strength. After Meng Meng was born, the family's burden became heavier. Milk powder and diapers cost a lot of money every month. Moreover, this girl was weak. She would have headaches and fever every now and then. It would cost a lot of money to go to the hospital. Because of that, Yuhan went out to look for a job before she even finished her confinement. Yihai rubbed his eyes and said while sobbing, Your mother and I saw that and felt sorry for her. We tried to persuade her many times, but she was stubborn. You have no idea how much your mother and I hated you back then. We also hated ourselves for being useless. When Meng Meng was 2, Yuhan performed well in the company. Her performance was high, and her salary was higher too. The family's burden was getting lighter day by day. Just when your mother and I thought everything was going well, the Su family sent people. There were 3 of them. Fear and rage flashed through Yihai's face as he spoke to this point. They snatched Meng Meng, who had just turned 2, from Yuhan. They threatened Yuhan with your mother, me, and Meng Meng. They said that if Yuhan didn't go back with them, they would kill your mother and me. They would even throw Meng Meng to her death. Piak. Yihai slapped Yi-chan again. Yi-chan removed his physical strength from the slap, and he felt a burning sensation on his face. When our family needed you the most, you weren't there. When Yuhan needed you the most, you weren't there too. It was because you were a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. You overestimated yourself. In the end, Yuhan left with them. There was no news of her after she left. God knows how much that girl had suffered. Soon, Meng Meng was diagnosed with leukemia. Yihai broke down completely as he spoke to this point. Yi-chan remained silent, but he was filled with guilt. Yes, he did not deserve to be a son, a husband, or a father. However, he did not want all of that to happen. If the Su family had not knocked him out and tossed him into the river, he would not have traveled to the cultivation world by chance. He would not have disappeared for 5 years. He did not regret being with Yuhan. He only hated himself for not being capable back then and underestimating the Su family's cruelty. Forget it. It's useless to talk about this. Yihai drank the entire bottle of white wine until there was nothing left. Subsequently, he stood up and his body swayed. He smashed the bottle onto the ground and stared straight at Yi Chun with his drunk eyes. I've been a coward my entire life. I've had enough of it. Go. Even if you have to turn the world upside down, you have to ask for me if there's justice in this world. Is power more powerful or a favor more powerful? After saying that, he staggered back to his room. He staggered back to his room and said softly as he walked, I must bring Yuhan back. As for the Su family, a strong wind blew, causing the curtains to flutter. It's windy. It's going to rain. As a series of rustling noises came, Yi Chun heard his father snoring on the bed and his mother complaining. Yi Chun lifted his head and looked in the direction of Beijing. Yuhan, I brought our daughter to bring you here. That's right. It's going to rain. It's the best to kill on a rainy day. Chapter 177. August. It was a poetic season. The heavy rain that night had extinguished the heat in the air. On the morning of the 12th, Yi Chun got into Lin Tai's car with his parents, sending him off while carrying his daughter. He saw his mother, Wu Lan, covering her mouth through the window as if she was about to cry. His father, Yihai, said nothing. All he did was smoke his cigarette, leaving a long trail of ash. Both of them knew what would happen if Yi Chun and their precious granddaughter were to go. Their daughter, Ming Ming, was in Yi Chun's embrace. The little girl looked at her grandparents reluctantly. She said with red eyes, Daddy, why don't Grandpa and Grandma come with us to look for Mommy? Mommy will be happy to see Grandpa and Grandma. Grandpa and Grandma are old, so they can't travel far. Be a good girl, Ming Ming. Let's bring Mommy home to be filial to Grandpa and Grandma. Yi Chun patted the little girl's head and gave Lin Tai a look. The car started, and his parents were left behind. They were getting further and further away until they disappeared. Daddy, Mommy, I promise you guys that I'll definitely bring Yuhan back safe and sound this time. Yi Chun stretched his arm to wipe the tears at the corner of his daughter's eyes. This time, he kept a low profile. Apart from his parents and Lin Tai, who were driving, only knew about it. Even his closest second uncle, Yi Ming's family, had no idea. Over half an hour later, the car arrived at the airport. Yi Chun walked out of the car while carrying his daughter. He did not bring any luggage with him because they were all in his storage ring. Lin Tai said hesitantly, My lord, why don't I go with you? I know someone over there. There's no need. Stay in Tian'an and complete the mission that I gave you earlier. At the same time, take care of my parents and my company. Come back when the time is right. Yi Chun shook his head. Yi Chun walked into the airport entrance while carrying his daughter after saying that. Lin Tai had respect on his face as he watched him leave. He inhaled and enunciated word for word. The true dragon has entered the sea. Beijing is going to be turned upside down. At the same time, the martial Dao world that had been quiet for a few days was stirred again. The heaven leaderboard had changed again. Moreover, it was the first time the top 10 were announced to the world. The heaven leaderboard had always kept track of the top 50 powerhouses in China. In the past, only the top 40 had been announced, which made everyone curious about the top 10. Now that it was finally announced, how could everyone not be excited? Inside a manor in Jinling City, two old men in their 50s or 60s were playing chess in the courtyard, each holding a black and a white. The two seemed to be evenly matched, and they were in a deadlock with their brows furrowed. Grandpa, Grandpa! At this moment, a joyful voice came from inside the house, followed by a series of hurried footsteps. A gorgeous woman wearing a pink bath towel and slippers ran out of the house. The girl's face was filled with excitement. As she ran, her impressive chest bounced up and down. Yu Jiucheng glanced at her and immediately turned his face away. He said while twitching his lips, Su, can't you be more discreet with your clothes? Your grandpa Shun is watching. Hearing this, the other old man's face turned red. He coughed violently and hurriedly withdrew his gaze. Isusu just snapped back to her senses. She blushed and stuck her tongue out playfully. No, Grandpa, the heaven leaderboard has been updated. The heaven leaderboard is updated every year. It's normal. Do you have to run out without changing your clothes? Yu Jiucheng said angrily. Yu Susu stomped her feet and added immediately, "No, the top 10 of the Heaven leaderboard has been updated this time." "What? The top 10 has been updated?" As soon as she said that, shock flashed through Yu Juchong and Old Man Shin's faces. They threw the chess game aside and rushed into the house. They turned on the computer and logged into the Martial Dao World Forum. They were even more excited than Yu Susu. Top 10 of China's Heaven leaderboard. 5 bold golden words appeared before their eyes. Yu Jiuchong suppressed the throbbing in his heart and continued reading. Number 10 on China's Heaven leaderboard. Unquestionable sword from Luoyang. Age 40. Level intermediate innate stage. He's known as one of the Eastern Superior, Western Overlord, Mad Southern, and Northern Devil. He's an expert in sword Dao. He can even control the sword to take someone's head from 100 steps away. He's known as the Sword God of China. Before Mad Southern Yi appeared, he was the most powerful one among the Eastern Superior, Western Overlord, Southern Killer, and Northern Devil. Yu Susu asked curiously with her beautiful eyes wide open, "Grandpa, is this unquestionable sword really that powerful? He can take someone's head from 100 steps away with his sword?" "That's right." Yu Juchong nodded and recalled. "This person is different from Yuan Bupo and the rest. He's mysterious. I saw him once in Luoyang 20 years ago. I could feel the sword intent on his body from 10 meters away. It was like a thorn in my back. Grandpa, you were a martial Dao master 20 years ago. His aura can affect you from 10 meters away?" Yu Susu was shocked. The old man with the surname Shun, who was standing aside, sighed and said, "Silly girl, there are different masters. Take someone like Unquestionable Sword, for example. His aura is powerful, and his energy is majestic. Masters who are slightly weaker will lose their will to fight just by looking at him. Oh God, Unquestionable Sword is already so powerful, but he's only ranked number 10. I can't imagine how terrifying the people before him are." Yu Susu was shocked. The few of them proceeded to read on. Number 9 on China's Heaven leaderboard. Wei Wuya. Age 38. Level intermediate innate stage. Number 8 on China's Heaven leaderboard. Yan Nanfei. Age 39. Level intermediate innate stage. Number 7 on China's Heaven leaderboard. Li Yinxiao. Age 41. Level mastery innate stage. Number 6 on China's Heaven leaderboard. Han Qinhu. Age 45. Level mastery innate stage. 20 years ago, he fought 3 masters on his own. In the end, 2 died and 1 was injured. Yu Jiuchong's face turned a little gloomy as he read to this point. He seemed to have recalled something sad. "Grandpa, was it Commander Han who injured you back then?" Yu Susu asked, poking at his sore spot. Yu Jiuchong nodded lightly and said in all seriousness, "Your first master, second master, and I are from the Xing Yi sect. Your first master killed many people to avenge his personal grudge, and the military came to suppress him. Commander Han broke into the Xing Yi sect alone. To protect the inheritance, your first master, second master, and I could only fight him. It was 3 against 1. In the end, your first master and second master died in Commander Han's hands. If not for Commander Han's magnanimity, I'm afraid I would have died in that battle. Although that was the case, I was severely injured in that battle. My cultivation base regressed, and I'm no longer a master." Yu Jiuchong looked lonely as he spoke to this point. Yu Susu's eyes turned red, and she comforted him immediately. "All right, Grandpa. Let bygones be bygones." "Yes, let's continue reading," the old man said while smiling. Number 5 on the China Heaven leaderboard. Su Chongming. Age 42. Level late-stage Khanate cultivator. Number 4 on the China Heaven leaderboard. Pang Yuanqing. Age 36. Cultivation level late-stage Khanate stage. Number 3 on the China Heaven leaderboard. Qin Xiaotian. Age 34. Cultivation level late Khanate stage. Bodyguard of Zhong Nanhai. Nickname Maniac. He grew up in the Shaolin Temple and became the disciple of the Shaolin Temple's martial monk, Shi Wuxia. He looks simple and honest, and he cultivates both internal and external cultivation. His iron shirt has been cultivated to the extreme, and he is impervious to swords and spears. He once single-handedly killed many overseas martial arts masters. Number 2 on the China Heaven leaderboard, Yang Junlin. Age, 48. Level, unknown. Known as the number 1 person in China's military, a legend in the military world, and the god of war of China. He reached the peak of the innate stage at the age of 30 and has defeated all the heroes in China without a single defeat. Yu Jiucheng, an old man, Shun inhaled sharply one after another. They looked horrified. The god of war of China. The weight behind these few words was too heavy. Although they claimed to be people from the ancient martial arts world, they had never known that there was such a person in China. It could be seen how deep the martial arts world was. JavaScript. Yu Su, who was standing aside, did not think too much about it. She exclaimed all of a sudden, "Grandpa, look at number 1." Yu Jiucheng looked over immediately, and his brows twitched hard. Number 1 on the China Heaven leaderboard, Mad Southern Yi. Age, 30. Level, unknown. Born in Tiannan. His cultivation base is unknown. This person went missing for 5 years for no reason and came back 5 years later. This person used to be number 1 on the Heaven leaderboard. He killed Yuan Bupo on the Surge River and fought 3 masters on the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain. He killed Northern Devil Jiang with a swing of his sword and Eastern Superior Ning with a punch. He went after Western Overlord Liu for thousands of miles and killed another overseas martial Dao master in our country's sea. This person is suspected to be a cultivation master and a martial Dao master at the peak of the innate stage. He has never lost a single battle since he fought. Moreover, he killed every time he fought. I suspect that he hasn't unleashed his full ability yet. Therefore, he's ranked number 1 on the Heaven leaderboard, number 1 among the innate stage, and number 1 among the masters. Yu Jiucheng and the rest looked like they were petrified after being ranked number 1 3 times consecutively. They were speechless for a long time. Mad Southern Yi, number 1 on the China Heaven leaderboard. On this day, the Chinese martial Dao world was in an uproar. All of them were shocked by the ranking. They had mixed feelings after they calmed down. It was an era of heroes. Qin Shao Dian, Peng Yuanqing, Han Qinhu, Li Yunxiao, Yin Nanfei, Wei Wuya, Unquestionable Jian, and Yang Junlin. Heroes fought for supremacy while beauties were as beautiful as jade. Facing so many heroes, could he, Mad Southern Yi, create glory again and suppress the heroes? Chapter 178. On the plane to Beijing, Yi Chun sat at the aisle seat. Yi Chun sat at the seat near the aisle and looked at his phone quietly. He would look like he was in deep thought every now and then. Meanwhile, Meng Meng sat aside and fell asleep with her head on Yi Chen's thighs. The little girl was reluctant to leave her grandparents before they left. Her eyes were red from crying. However, she was excited as soon as she got on the plane. Being a child, and since it was her first time taking a plane, the little girl pestered Yi Chen with questions such as how the plane could fly and whether it would fall. Yi Chen only managed to calm her down after a long time. There are 8 major families in Beijing: the Su family, the Qin family, the Shui family, the Li family, the Yin family, the Han family, the Peng family, and the Wei family. Yi Chen put his phone down after finally digesting the information that Lin Tai had given him. He could not help but frown. He did not take a good look at the other families, but he studied the Su family for a while. The rough information that he got was that the old master of the Su family was a veteran of the War of Resistance. He had 2 sons and a daughter. The eldest son was Su Chonglin, the second son was Su Chongming, and the youngest daughter was Su Ting. Su Chonglin was Su Yuhan and Su Youwei's biological father, but he had passed away due to illness early on. Meanwhile, Su Chongming was Su Qilin and Su Tao's father. He held an important position in the military at the moment, while Su Ting had been abroad. 4 years ago, Old Master Su passed away at the Beijing Military First Affiliated Hospital when he was 82 years old. Since then, Su Chongming had been in charge of the Su family. 2 of Old Master Su's brothers were in politics. One of them had climbed to the deputy national level, so it was not an exaggeration to say that he was extremely powerful. Judging from that, the Su family was a real wealthy family. Moreover, it was a top-notch wealthy family with bosses in both the military and politics. I don't care how powerful your family is. You're nothing in front of absolute power. Destroying the Su family is only one of the reasons why I came to Beijing earlier. My main mission is to find Yuhan and bring her home. Yichen squinted slightly as he thought to himself, and that guy who's trying to hit on Yuhan, I don't care who you are. From the moment you try to hit on Yuhan, you're already a dead man. No matter how calm he was, he could not help but feel excited as soon as he thought that he was about to reunite with Yuhan. At that moment, a soft, delicate voice came. Yichen lifted his eyes and looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a lady with a cold expression sitting across him. The woman was about 23 or 24 years old and was dressed fashionably. She had an oval face, arched eyebrows, and long curly hair. However, at this moment, she was covering her lower abdomen with her hand. Her curved brows were furrowed into a crease, and there was a heart-wrenching expression on her face. However, there was no one beside her. Yichen looked away after taking a glance and closed his eyes to rest. However, soon, he felt someone grab his arm. When he opened his eyes, he saw the woman sitting opposite him. Her face was deathly pale as she clutched his hand. Her face was covered in sweat, and the sweat spread into the air along with her body fragrance. For a moment, it was refreshing. "Mister, help me. I'm in so much pain," the woman snorted as she exhaled. "Help you?" Yi Chun frowned. He wanted to reject her, but he controlled his divine consciousness to scan her body by instinct. He immediately noticed what was wrong with her. That was dysmenorrhea. The woman was in so much pain that her face was pale, and her forehead was covered with sweat. She looked at him with a pleading expression. "Please, help me call." Yichen shook his head and grabbed her hand. What do you want to do?" "I just want you to call the stewardess for me. Don't mess around." The lady was shocked by Yi Chen's abrupt action. She wanted to struggle, but she realized that she could not muster any strength. Just when she was going to scream, her weak voice stopped abruptly. She looked at Yi Chen in disbelief. This was because she realized that there was a warm current coming from Yi Chen's hand that was grabbing her. The heat flowed into her body, and then the painful period that was tormenting her just now was gone. All of a sudden, her beautiful eyes flashed with shock. So this pervert didn't want to take advantage of me, but wanted to cure me. Also, her technique was amazing. She only touched me once, and it didn't hurt anymore. She said awkwardly after snapping back to her senses, "Sir, I'm really sorry about that." "Thank you." "Oh yeah. What's your name? Don't bother me if there's nothing else." Yichen retracted his hand calmly and closed his eyes again after reminding her. He had removed the block period in the lady's body with his spiritual energy earlier. His words caused the woman to be stunned. What did he mean by "don't bother you"? It sounded like I'm annoying. She pouted, feeling wronged. She, Yin Ning, always thought that her looks and body were extraordinary. Since she was young, the opposite sex had always been around her. However, someone was looking down on her today. Yin Ning turned her head away angrily as she thought to this point. She was sulking on her own. Yi Chen had no idea what she was thinking about. Even if he knew, he would not care. Soon, Yin Ning's soft moan came into his ears again. Impatience flashed through Yi Chen's face. He realized that she was in pain again when he opened his eyes. Yin Ning's pretty face was flushing as she stuttered. Can you touch me again? I am not feeling well again." "Touch you again?" As soon as he said that, an uncle who was reading the newspaper behind, Yi Chen almost fell to the ground when he heard that. Sigh, youngsters nowadays. In front of so many people, the uncle looked back and forth between the two of them with a strange gaze. He shook his head and picked up the newspaper again to read. "Please, last time?" Yin Ning's face turned even redder. She was dying to dig a hole and hide in it. Those who didn't know better would think that she was that kind of person. But menstrual cramps were really painful. Yi Chun frowned and controlled his divine consciousness to check her body again. He could not help but exclaim, "Did you eat something? For example, herbs with positive properties." Men were young, while women were in. However, he found that the other party was a woman, but her body was full of yang qi. Under the imbalance of yin and yang, her qi and blood were exuberant, so her menstrual cycle was relatively large. He had just helped her dredge up her blocked menstrual cycle, but it was blocked again. Where yang herbs? Yin Ning was a little confused. Her pretty face turned pale as she said in fear, "I am not terminally ill, am I?" Yichen did not bother to explain to her. Just when he stretched his arm out to clear it for her, a sarcastic voice came into his ears. "Hey, do you know how to treat illnesses or not? Are you trying to take advantage of me?" Yichen saw a young man sitting in front of Yin Ning looking at him as soon as he said that. There was intense disgust and disdain on the young man's face. He had seen the entire process of Yi Chun treating Yin Ning earlier, so deep disdain rose within him. To him, Yi Chun had merely touched Yin Ning's hand. It would be pure nonsense if he said he could treat her just like that. Yi Chun ignored him directly and looked at Yin Ning. "Give me your hand." Little did he know that his neglect made the young man feel guilty. The young man was getting more and more powerful. He said to Yin Ning while looking at her, "Don't listen to him, pretty lady. He's trying to take advantage of you." He paused at the end of his sentence and proceeded to say, "My family has been studying medicine for generations. If you don't mind, I can take a look at you. It's better than someone with ulterior motives." Pride flashed through his face as he spoke to this point. To him, Yin Ning would most likely agree to his request as soon as she heard that he was a doctor. "No, I want him to show it to me. You go back to where you came from." However, Yin Ning pouted impatiently. She got down from her seat and walked to Yi Chun. She could not stop shaking his arm while holding his hand. "Sir, just touch me again. I promise it'll be just once. I'll treat you to a meal later." The smile on the young man's face froze. What she said created an intense reaction in the car. Many of them had obvious jealousy and envy on their faces. Yin Ning's pretty face blushed when she sensed the people's strange stares. The young man secretly clenched his teeth and scoffed. Some people are really shameless. They're cheating and taking advantage of a lady. "Are you saying that I'm cheating?" Yichen looked at him expressionlessly. "That's right. That's what I said. If you really have medical skills, why don't you take a look at me?" The young man walked over and extended his palm. He was determined to expose Yi Chen's mask. The people in the car watched coldly when they noticed the duo starting to argue. Most of them shared the same thought as the young man. Clearly, they did not believe that Yi Chun had medical skills. After all, which doctor would be so flirtatious when treating a patient? He was touching her and treating her to a meal. Yi Chun merely glanced at him and subsequently shook his head. "You're beyond cure. You're not far from death. Instead of embarrassing yourself here, why don't you go home and prepare for your funeral?" Chapter 179. As soon as Yi Chun was done speaking, the young man was enraged at first. Subsequently, he scoffed and said, "I'm terminally ill and I'm not far from death? What a joke. I suppose your family has been practicing medicine for generations." Yi Chun asked, "You're pretty smart. To tell you the truth, I'm from the Zhang family of Huanan." The young man lifted his head proudly and revealed everything he had as if he was showing off. As soon as he said that, a commotion stirred in the cabin. There was a commotion in the cabin, including Yin Ning. Someone said in shock, "The Zhang family of Huanan? The Zhang family that's known as the martial arts family?" "That's right." The young man smiled proudly. An old man clicked his tongue. "I heard that the Zhang family has been in business for up to 1,000 years. Especially the old master of the Zhang family. He's considered to be the best doctor in China. As a member of the Zhang family, I'm sure this young man's ability can't be too bad." The pride on the young man's face grew when he heard the people's discussion. He looked at Yi Chun with a victorious expression. Yi Chun seemed to have not heard what the people said. He spoke confidently while looking at the young man. "That explains it. I can smell up to 1,000 types of medicine on you. I'm sure you've been studying medicine since you were young. Moreover, you've made medicine for yourself to train your body." Just when the young man was going to nod, he heard Yi Chun speak again. "That's good news. Unfortunately, you're not proficient in medicine. You didn't master the combination of the medicine completely, so you're poisoned by the combination of the thousands of medicines." I can guarantee that there are no less than 100 types of poison in your body now. The poison has even penetrated into your organs and bones. Yichin smiled lightly as he spoke to this point. That's why I said that you're terminally ill and you're not far from death. Moreover, I'm the only one in the world who can treat you. Even the old master of the Zhang family can't do it. He had seen all of that through his divine consciousness. The young man could not stop laughing in rage. He was so mad that his face was flushing. If that's what you said, how long do I have to live? 7 steps. Yichin shook his head and said, your vital energy and blood are rushing up because of your rage, speeding up the spread of the poison. I can guarantee that you'll definitely die if you take another 7 steps. Gasp. As his voice fell, the entire cabin burst into an uproar. This was the first time they had heard someone say that a person would definitely die within 7 steps. Not to mention humans, perhaps even highly sensitive medical equipment, would not be able to determine that, right? The crowd could not help but shake their heads. He thought that Yi Chun was boasting too much. Even Yin Ning, who was standing next to Yi Chun, secretly pulled his shirt, signaling him to stop talking nonsense. However, Yi Chun remained unmoved. You actually said that I will die within 7 steps. As though he had heard something funny, the young man suddenly took a deep breath and said, all right, I'll show you 7 steps now. If I'm fine after 7 steps, don't blame me for throwing you out of the plane. After saying this, he immediately lifted his left foot and took a step forward. Open your eyes wide and look carefully. This is the first step. There are 6 more steps to go. He turned his head and smirked at Yi Chun. Subsequently, he took another step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and 6 steps. There's one last step left. I'm looking forward to seeing your expression later. Yi Chun shook his head lightly. It was his first time seeing someone so eager to die. However, such a piece of trash did not deserve his sympathy. Many people looked at Yi Chun in a gloating manner. Yin Ning comforted him. Don't be afraid. He won't dare to throw you out. Otherwise, I'll make him suffer. The young man chuckled and lifted his foot to take the 7th step. The smile on his face froze as soon as his foot was lifted into the air. The next moment, subsequently, his heart felt like it was being sliced by a knife, as if it was being torn apart. He spat a mouthful of black blood out, and his foot that was stepping out stopped mid-air, not daring to land. He turned his head to look at Yi Chun while swaying. He begged in an extremely hoarse voice, help me. At that moment, he was completely shrouded in fear. It was his first time sensing the aura of death. The people could not help but exclaim by instinct upon seeing that. They looked horrified. Yi Chun's words really came true. He would definitely die within 7 steps. Yin Ning opened her beautiful eyes wide and looked at Yi Chun in disbelief. Is he really that amazing? Tell me. I am begging you. The young man felt the situation in his body getting worse. Even his voice was choking with fear. You've been jealous since the beginning when you saw this beauty being intimate with me. You wanted to slap me in the face and step on me to attract the beauty's attention. What you're doing is extremely stupid. Yi Chun smirked and pointed at Yin Ning, who was next to him. I'm reminding you that you don't have much time left out of kindness. You thought I was provoking you, so you insisted on doing the opposite. You're so stupid. Why should I save a moron like you? Get lost if you want to die. Don't be an eyesore. Yi Chun closed his eyes and ignored the people after saying that. The rest ran to get the air stewardess immediately. Seeing that Yi Chun was still unmoved, someone next to him could not help but say, Little brother, please be magnanimous and save him. If he really dies, the plane will have to land. Moreover, we'll be questioned by the police. That's right. Please save him. That's a human life we're talking about, Yin Ning said, feeling sorry for him. Yi Chun only opened his eyes, then and glanced at the young man extremely coldly. You want me to save you, don't you? Tell me. I don't want to die. The young man nodded with difficulty. Half of his face had turned black. Clearly, the poison had spread to his face. He would definitely die when it reached his brain. Kneel, Yi Chun said expressionlessly. Stand up straight when you're being beaten. People have to pay for their stupidity. The young man's expression changed. However, his life eventually won over his dignity. With the help of a few men, he knelt on one knee before Yi Chun while being dragged by one of his legs. "I am sorry. I didn't recognize you," the young man said while blushing. Yi Chun raised his brows and remained sitting calmly. Subsequently, he flicked his finger at the young man. A spiritual energy seed flew into the young man's body at that moment. In the next second, under everyone's incredulous gazes, the poison on the young man's face quickly dissipated. Not long after, his complexion looked much better. At that moment, everyone was convinced of Yi Chen's ability. "What a master," the young man said with extreme gratitude. "Thank you for saving my life, miracle doctor. I, Zhang Zijian, am extremely grateful. You must visit the Zhang family in the future, miracle Dr. Wannan." He was really convinced. The person before him was a real medical expert, especially what he did earlier. Even the Zhang family's top doctor could not do that. "Get lost," Yi Chen said without even lifting his head. "The reason why I saved you isn't because I pity you. I just don't want your death to delay my journey." Zhang Zijian smiled bitterly and hurriedly returned to his seat, not daring to say a word of complaint. Yin Ning, who was standing aside, took a good look at Yi Chun and said weakly, Can you touch me again?" By the time the doctor arrived, he realized that nothing had happened. Over an hour later, the plane landed at the Beijing Western Suburb Airport. Yi Chun carried his daughter and got off the plane. Just when he was about to leave, Yin Ning stopped him. "Hey, miracle doctor, give me your WeChat number so that we can contact each other in the future." "I'm sorry, I don't have WeChat." "Then, you should have my number, right?" Little Yin Jing was pissed and asked, unwilling to give up. "I'm sorry, I don't have it either." Yi Chen walked out after saying that. Yin Ning stomped her feet in anger. She secretly cursed Yi Chun for being such a jerk. Meng Meng hugged Yi Chen's neck and looked around the entire airport curiously. She said in her baby voice, "Daddy, I'm hungry. Sure, I'll bring you to eat something delicious." Yi Chen smiled. Just when he was going to a restaurant nearby, after walking out of the airport, two young men walked to him. They had a strong military aura on them. "Soldiers." Yi Chun frowned. The leading young man removed the sunglasses on his face. "Mr. Yi, our boss would like to see you." Yi Chen's expression turned grim. "I'm sorry, I'm busy. Your boss would like to see me. Get him to come here personally. Also, please move away. Don't block my way." "Aren't you going if it's about the Su family?" the young man asked coldly. Chapter 180. It was noon at the Beijing military compound. An extremely low-key BMW slowly drove into a retro courtyard. Wherever it passed, no one dared to question it. Yi Chen walked out of the car while carrying his daughter. The young man from before lifted his hand to the courtyard. "Mr. Yi, our boss is inside. Please." Two fully armed sentries stood at the entrance of the courtyard house. Their figures were tall and straight, and they looked straight ahead like two statues. Just when Yi Chan was going in while carrying his daughter, the two sentries stopped him all of a sudden. They looked at Meng Meng, who was in his embrace, expressionlessly. "This child can't go in. Also, we're going to search her. Please cooperate with us." Yi Chen looked cold. "Move away." Just when the two sentries were going to search him by force, an extremely majestic voice came from the house. "Let them in." The two of them then moved aside. Yi Chun carried his daughter and walked in without saying a word. The door was then closed. The decorations in the house were simple. However, there were many calligraphy hanging on the wall, especially one that read, "Those who offend my China will be killed no matter how far away you are." The brush was bold and powerful. It was eye-catching. At that moment, an old man in a Chinese tunic suit walked out of the cubicle. He was of medium height and was approximately 60 years old. Although the old man looked mediocre, his eyes were extremely sharp, as if he could see through everything in the world with just a glance. Most importantly, he was exuding a righteous aura at all times. Meanwhile, there was a young man in a suit behind the old man. The young man had a crew cut and looked honest. He had thick brows and big eyes. He was approximately 30 years old, and there was a battle intent in his eyes when he looked at Yi Chen occasionally. The old man in the Chinese tunic suit wrapped a tobacco leaf and said to Yi Chen kindly, "Should I call you Yi Chun or Mad Southern Yi?" You can call me whatever you want, Commander Chen. Yi Chen smiled calmly and had his eyes on the young man behind the old man because he sensed a battle intent. In reality, he had figured out the old man's identity since he walked in. He was the commander-in-chief of the military, Old Chun. The old man in the Chinese tunic suit wrapped the tobacco leaf and reached out to take a cigarette from the young man's hand. After lighting it up, he began to smoke. All right then, I'll call you Yi Chun. You don't have to call me Commander Chun. Just call me Old Chun, or you can call me Director Chun. Sit, don't just stand there. As he spoke, he took the initiative to hand over a stool. Yi Chun sat down while carrying his daughter. His expression remained the same as if the person standing before him was just an ordinary old farmer. A look of admiration flashed in Old Chen's eyes. I invited you here today mainly for two things. First, I represent the Chinese military to invite you to join the Special Forces Brigade and become the chief instructor of the Divine Arms Battalion. Old Chun, I've already said that I have two conditions, Yi Chun said. The first condition you mentioned is that after you join, you will not interfere with the Divine Strategy Battalion matters, much less come a train, right? I can promise you that. Old Chun nodded. Subsequently, he said while frowning, as for your second condition, I can't promise you the geographical vein just yet because I don't know where the geographical vein is at the moment. However, I can promise you that I'll definitely find it if there's one. Yi Chun smiled lightly. The day the geographical vein is found will be the day I officially join the Divine Arms Battalion. You've got guts, Brad. You're the first person who dares to negotiate with me. Old Chun laughed out loud and changed the topic. Let me ask you, is there a grudge between you and the Su family? Old Chun, you have sharp eyes. Yi Chun squinted and took a good look at him. He admitted it openly. He was not surprised at all. If the military could not even find that, they would be no different from trash. Old Chun looked straight at him. So, you're here in Beijing to destroy the Song family? That's right. Yi Chun answered honestly. Young man, Old Chun took a deep breath in, and the aura on his body changed. How dare you admit to me that you want to destroy the Su family? Do you think that you can come and go as you please in my place? His voice fell. The young man who was standing behind him took a step forward. The ground did not show any signs of cracking, but a majestic force charged at Yi Chun through the ground at high speed. Yi Chun stepped onto the ground softly. He dissolved the force instantly. At the same time, surprise flashed through the young man's face behind Old Chun. The battle intent in his eyes when he looked at Yi Chun was growing. Since I, Yi Chun, dare to come here alone, naturally I have the confidence to leave safely. Moreover, I don't think Old Chun has any enmity toward me. Yi Chun said without changing his expression. Mad Southern Yi, you're even crazier than the rumors say. Instead of being mad, Old Chun smiled. The admiration in his eyes was getting more obvious. Do you want to hear me out? Go ahead, Old Chun. Old Chun wiped the smile off his face and said in his deep voice, This is Beijing, the capital of China. I don't want you to stir up trouble. Even if you're Mad Southern Yi and the #1 on the heaven leaderboard, you can't challenge the country's bottom line. Do you understand? Are you trying to stop me from touching the Su family? Old Chun? Yi Chun squinted as his smile turned cold. Touch the Su family? Old Chun said in all seriousness. The situation in Beijing is complicated. Meanwhile, the Su family has a deputy national level, 2 high officials, 5 director-level people, and 1/3 of their direct descendants in the military. Tell me, how are you going to touch them? Yi Chun said nothing, but he was secretly a little surprised. Never had he thought that the Su family, one of the 8 clans in Beijing, would possess such great power despite looking insignificant. Young man, sometimes you can't solve things with just your strength alone. Are you going to kill them with your sword? Then, the Su family will retaliate. Old Chun proceeded to say. Yi Chun shook his head and said in a non-committal manner, But I still think that nothing can withstand a single blow from absolute power. So, do you think your power is above the law? Do you want to go against the country? Old Chun looked dignified without being angry. Moreover, this is the country that gave birth to you and raised you. Your ancestors have been living and sleeping on this land for generations. Your parents have even enjoyed benefits, such as subsidies and medical insurance from the country. Yi Chun said coldly, I never said that. Old Chen stared at him for a few seconds and said, therefore, you must do things within the scope of the law. For example, if the Su family is corrupt and violates the country's interests and the boss falls from power, you, the Major General of the Firearms Division, will have the right to kill the traitors. Of course, I'm just saying if. I don't mean anything else. Don't overthink it and put away those dangerous thoughts of yours. Old Chen looked sincere as he spoke to this point. The corner of Yi Chen's lips twitched slightly as he nodded calmly. Don't worry, Old Chen. I know what to do. All right, go back. I won't ask you to stay for dinner. The food here is simple. You won't get used to it. Old Chen turned around, looking rather dispirited. Shao Dian, send him out personally. Yi Chun carried his daughter and walked out of the courtyard house. The young man in the suit led the father and daughter out of the military courtyard without saying a word. Thank you, Yi Chun said coldly. The young man in the suit lifted his eyes to look at him. He said while scratching his head, Did you bully my sister? Yi Chun was slightly stunned. He failed to react at that moment. You bullied my sister. I really want to beat you up. The young man in the suit was in a dilemma. He looked at the courtyard house. But the boss doesn't allow me to fight anyone. I'm in a dilemma. Why don't we fight when I'm free one day? No matter who wins or loses, I'll let you go for bullying my sister. Sure. Yi Chun smiled and left while carrying his daughter. However, he could not stop recalling as he walked. When did I bully his sister? In the courtyard house. Soon after Yi Chun left, a middle-aged man in military uniform walked out of the house. He looked at Old Chun, who was practicing calligraphy, and hesitated to speak. Commander, aren't you being unfair today? You're hinting at him in such a crazy way. Old Chun didn't say a word. When the last stroke was done, a big Su character appeared. A faintly discernible voice rang out. Some people seem to have gotten carried away all these years. They think that number one can't lift a saber anymore. Isn't a saber delivered just in time? Chapter 181. In a roast duck restaurant, Yi Chun sat by the window on the second floor. After watching his daughter finish half of the roast duck, Yi Chun took a piece of tissue and wiped her mouth. He said while smiling, My dear, are you full? Daddy, where did Cutie go? The little girl burped and looked at the remaining roast duck on the table in pity. I can't finish it. It'd be great if Cutie was here. Cutie checked it in earlier. He should be on his way here. Yi Chun was in between tears and laughter. He carried the little girl and left the roast duck restaurant after getting the waiter to settle the bill. He was secretly exclaiming. Beijing was indeed the capital of the country. There were all sorts of delicacies. It was like a paradise for foodies. A black Mercedes-Benz was parked outside. A young man walked out of the car as the door opened. He walked to Yi Chun and greeted him respectfully. My lord. Yi Chun could not help but stop walking and look at him. He came to a realization. You're Lin Tai's man? That's right. My name is Wang Meng. I'm the person in charge that Brother Leopard arranged in Beijing. I've been looking for Ms. Su's whereabouts before this. Wang Meng nodded and said, Brother Leopard informed me when you got on the plane this morning. I've arranged a place for you to stay. Thank you, Lin Tai. Yi Chun smiled calmly and got into the black Mercedes-Benz. Perhaps because she had just eaten, the little girl fell asleep in his embrace. Soon, the car drove into a retro bungalow. The bungalow was not huge, but the environment was great. To increase their privacy, Lin Tai did not arrange for a maid. Yi Chun got out of the car and walked into the bungalow. He put his daughter, who was asleep on the bed, and walked to the living room to look at Wang Meng. Do you have any information on Yuhan's whereabouts? Not yet. Wang Meng looked nervous and said while shaking his head, After Brother Leopard arranged for us to come here, we created a delivery company to cover it up. We've been looking for Ms. Su's whereabouts under the name of delivery. However, there's been no breakthrough until now. Yi Chun shook his head and said in slight disappointment, Then, is it possible that she's in the Su residence? Although Su Yuwei had said that she might be hiding in the temple, Yi Chun dared not believe her completely. Impossible. Wang Meng shook his head with certainty. We've sent more than a dozen groups of brothers to infiltrate the Su family, but there's no news of Miss Su. Even the Su family's own people don't know about it. One of our brothers failed and raised the Sioux family's guard. And then, it was very difficult for our people to enter the Sioux family. We even attracted the attention of the local gangs in Beijing. A gang called the Fast Attack Group has been keeping an eye on us. We lost more than 100 brothers because of that. Wang Ming smiled bitterly. Yichen could not help but frown. Fast Attack Group? Would there be such a shady existence under the feet of the emperor? Yes, the Fast Attack Group. They're a security company on the surface, but they're actually a gang. Wang Ming nodded and said, moreover, we also found out that the Fast Attack Group has a deep background. It seems to be the Shui family's force. The Shui family? Yichen's expression turned slightly grim. He had learned about the Beijing organizations when he was on the plane. The Shui family was a wealthy family that was on par with the Su family, the Qin family, the Han family, the Li family, the Wei family, the Pang family, and the Yan family. He came to a realization and asked, how many temples and Taoist temples are there in Beijing? I'm not sure how many exactly. Wang Ming pondered for a while and said uncertainly, but there are at least 100 temples and monasteries. No less than 100. Although Yichen was prepared, he could not help but be stunned. He said after a few seconds of silence, how many people do you have under you now? Less than 200, Wang Ming replied. Yichen ordered, send all of your men out and turn all the temples and Taoist temples in Beijing upside down. High Lord, will this attract the attention of other forces and stop us? Wang Ming asked hesitantly. Hearing this, a mocking smirk appeared at the corner of Yichen's lips. His voice was extremely cold. I'll kill whoever dares to stop me. The Shui family, the Su family. Sensing the killing intent coming out of him, Wang Ming clenched his teeth. Sure, I'll make the arrangements now. Oh yeah, High Lord, we have a business in Beijing. It's a medicine store. Do you want to take a look? Lin Tai had prepared that for him. Lin Tai knew that Yichen knew how to refine medicinal pills. Refining medicinal pills required herbs, so he bought a medicine store. Bring me there, in Beijing's Dongqing district. At the entrance of a Chinese medicine store called the Qi Medicine Hall, Yichen got out of the car while carrying his daughter. He stood by the street and looked at the medicine store before him. The medicine store was not big. It was only over 100 square meters, and there would be customers coming and going from time to time. Lin Tai really knows how to get things done. He's done all of that without any prior instructions. It's no wonder such a person can rise in Lin City. Yichen secretly nodded and walked into the Qi Medicine Hall under Wang Ming's lead. He smelled the pungent smell of Chinese medicine as soon as he entered. An old man in his 50s was greeting customers at the counter. The man put down what he was doing and welcomed them as soon as he saw Yichen and the rest. However, he walked to Wang Ming with a flattering smile. Mr. Wang, why are you here? Why didn't you tell me that you're here? Meanwhile, he did not even look at Yichen. He thought that he was Wang Ming's follower. Wang Ming was a little embarrassed, so he glared at him immediately and introduced, this is Mr. Yi next to me. He's the owner of the medicine store, Mr. Yi. This is the manager that we hired, Huang Fugui. Huang Fugui was stunned at first. Then he extended his hand to Yi Chun immediately. He was smiling so widely that his face looked like a chrysanthemum. Oh, you're the boss. I didn't recognize you. Please don't blame me. Don't worry about it. Yichen shook his head coldly and put the little girl in his embrace down. Huang Fugui shouted in the medicine store immediately, Danny, where the hell are you? Serve us some tea now. Not long after, a burly and honest-looking young man walked out with a cup of tea in his hands. The young man was stunned at first when he saw Yichen. Subsequently, he said excitedly, Why, your brother Chun? What brother Chun? He's our store's owner. Don't call him that. Huang Fugui glared at him angrily. It's been a while, Danyu. Yichen smiled lightly. The young man before him was Zhang Danyu, whom he had met on his way to the Wuming grassland. He was a young man who had brought the urn to the grassland to fulfill his dead sister's dream. It was Huang Fugui's turn to be shocked. Boss, do you guys know each other? We've met before. Yichen nodded and took the tea from Zhang Danyu. He said while smiling, Danyu, why are you here? Brother Chun, oh no, boss, I buried my sister after I brought her to visit the grassland. Zhang Danyu scratched his head and said rather embarrassedly, My parents found me a wife in the village, but they asked for 48,000 yuan as a betrothal gift, so I came out to earn money. I earn 2,200 yuan a month. I'll spend 200 yuan and send 2,000 yuan back home. I'll be able to marry my wife in 2 years. Then, work hard here. I'll give you a raise if you perform well. Yichen could not help but laugh in surprise. His impression of Zhang Dainyu was getting better. The man was honest, loyal, and simple-minded. He was not as greedy as the manager, Huang Fuguwei. Huang Fuguwei scolded while laughing. That's all you've got. Dad, are you bullying my brother Dainyu again? Following a dissatisfied shout, a young girl walked in from outside. The girl was in her early 20s and was very delicate and pretty. Her eyebrows were curved like crescent moons, but at this moment, her face was panting with anger. What do you mean I'm bullying him? Huang Fuguwei smiled awkwardly at Yi Chun and took the initiative to introduce. Boss, this is my daughter, Huang Pei. She's currently helping out in the store. Pei, greet the boss. In reality, he felt a little guilty. He had thought that there was no boss in the store, so he secretly sent his daughter here. She would still be paid, but she would not do much. Huang Pei only had her eyes on Yi Chun then. Stunned, she said in shock, "You're our boss." One could not blame her for being shocked. Not only did Yi Chun look young, but he did not look like a boss at all. Even Huang Fuguei, who was standing aside, was the same. Yi Chun nodded calmly. Huang Pei said with her hands on her hips after finally accepting it, "Boss, you must give my brother Dainyu a raise. He works from dawn to dusk in our store and doesn't complain about anything. There's no need for that. I'm not tired at all. As long as Brother Chen doesn't think I'm stupid, I'll be fine." Zhang Dainyu's cheeks were flushing as he waved immediately. Yi Chun chuckled softly. Of course. At that moment, there were more customers in the store. Huang Fuguwei and his daughter got busy. Naturally, they wanted to impress their boss. Just when Yi Chun was about to leave, 2 ladies walked in through the door. The leading lady was wearing a light yellow dress. She was surprised to see Yi Chun. It's you, Miracle Doctor. Chapter 182. Yi Chun could not help but be extremely surprised to see that it was Yin Ning whom he had met on the plane earlier. Yin Ning, on the other hand, was much happier. She could not stop chattering around Yi Chun as she walked in. "Almighty Miracle Doctor, why are you here? Don't tell me this pharmacy is yours?" Yin Ning was surprised and delighted. When she got off the plane earlier, she asked Yi Chun for his contact number. However, Yi Chun refused to give it to her, which made her sulk for a while. She did not expect to bump into him when she was out with her friend to get medicine. Yi Chun said coldly, "I guess so. Sister Nan, he's the godly doctor I told you about." Yin Ning held the lady's hand next to her and introduced her to Yi Chun while smiling. "Miracle Doctor, this is my friend, Wei Nan." Meanwhile, Wei Nan was also taking a good look at Yi Chun. He secretly frowned upon noticing that he had a mediocre appearance and what he was wearing. Although he did not judge a book by its cover, he was not interested in Yi Chun at all. How could such a person be the miracle doctor that Yin Ning mentioned who treated her and said that Zhang Zijian would definitely die within 7 steps? Could it be that both of them were acting? Although that was what she was thinking, she still forced a smile at Yi Chun coldly. After all, to her, she was already giving him face by looking at him. "Great Miracle Doctor, we've met twice in a day. Do you think it's fate?" Yin Ning looked at Yi Chun and said without noticing, "Since we're fated, tell me your name. We'll be friends in Beijing from now on." Yi Chun could not stand her pestering anymore. He said coldly, "Yi Chun, my name is Yin Ning." Yin as in swallow and Ning as in tranquility. Yin Ning introduced herself as well. She did not mind Yi Chun's indifference at all. Huang Fuguei walked over and smiled. "Are the 2 of you here to get the medicine?" "No." Yin Ning shook her head and said, "I'm here to ask you what yang medicine is." She had menstrual pain on the plane. She clearly remembered Yi Chun asking her if she had taken any medicine with positive properties. That was why she brought her friend here to ask, so that she would not take the wrong medicine again. Positive drug? Huang Fuguei was confused. He had been dealing with Chinese herbal medicine for decades, but this was the first time he had heard of such a term. Could it be an aphrodisiac? Yi Chun said, "Yang medicine is a medicine that can stimulate the blood in a person's body. You took this when you had your period earlier, which caused your period to be frequent, the blood clots to harden, and menstrual pain. Yin-Ning looked like she understood, but she did not. Just when she was going to say something, Wei Nan, who was next to her, urged, "All right, Yin-Ning, since we figured it out, let's go back." She didn't want to stay here a moment longer. Yang medicine? It was pure fiction. Yin-Ning was the only one who would believe that and be foolishly tricked by others. Sister Nan, he just arrived and he's leaving. Yin-Ning's pretty face fell. "If you're not leaving, then I'm leaving," Wei Nan said coldly. Yin-Ning grabbed her immediately and turned her head to say to Yi-chun, "Miracle Dr. Yi, you saved me on the plane. Why don't I treat you to dinner tonight? I'll introduce a few friends to you too. Your restaurant's business will be better then." Just when Yi-chan was going to reject her, Huang Fugue, who was next to him, agreed immediately. Sure, that's a good idea. He was a smart man, so he could tell that the two ladies before him had an extraordinary identity. It meant that their friends were about the same. With their help, the pharmacy's business would be better, and his salary would increase. "It's a deal. Miracle Dr. Yi, I'll pick you up tonight," Yin-Ning said and left before Yi-chan could reject her. After they left, Yi-chan looked at Huang Fugue expressionlessly. "Are you the boss, or am I the boss?" He hated it when other people made decisions for him. You are. Huang Fugue jolted and forced a smile that looked uglier than crying on his face. "Boss, I won't do it again. However, if I can really get to know them, perhaps we won't have to pay the protection fee." "What protection fee?" Yi-chan squinted. Wang Meng, who had been quiet, explained immediately. "It's the protection fee. The Fast Attack Group manages this street, and they'll come to collect money from us every month." He did not want to have a conflict with the Fast Attack Group and delay his business, so he could only accept it. After all, he had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof. What a great protection fee. Yi-chan scoffed and glanced at him extremely coldly. "I don't want this to happen again. Boss, if we don't pay, what if the Fast Attack Group comes looking for trouble?" Huang Fugue's expression changed. An ordinary person like him could not afford to offend them at all. "Get them to come to me for the money directly." Yi-chan walked out of the medicine hall after saying that while Wang Ming followed him closely. In a Porsche, Weinan rolled her eyes at Yin-Ning and said angrily, "Are you dumb? Why did you invite him to dinner?" "But he saved my life." Yin-Ning pouted, not bothered at all. Wei Yin frowned. "How do you know that he's not playing tricks to get close to you? I've seen many people like him. Don't hang out with him anymore." "No, Sister Nan. Yi-chan really has medical skills. You must believe me. I'm going to introduce him to my grandpa." Yin-Ning panicked a little. "Do whatever you want." Wei Nan sighed helplessly and drove the car away. However, she was secretly scoffing. "So what if you're really a miracle doctor? This is Beijing. A miracle doctor is just too insignificant. I'd like to see what happens to you when Yin-Ning's pursuers find out that you're close to her." One idiot. In the afternoon, Yi-chan stood next to a pile of rocks with his arms behind his back. There was a man-made garden before him. There were ancient buildings and lush trees as far as the eye could see. There was a natural, man-made lake in the middle of the garden. The lake was winding, and the end of the lake happened to be facing Yi-chan. It looked like an azure dragon that was breathing. Meanwhile, there were bare tree stumps standing next to the man-made lake. Countless monkeys were standing on the tree stumps, scratching their ears and cheeks as they played. At that moment, a security guard in uniform walked out of nowhere. He walked over with a stun baton and chased the monkeys away. The monkeys ran back after he left. Yi-chan said, "What's this place?" "My lord, this used to be a private zoo called the Imperial Wind Pavilion," Wang Meng introduced. "It was opened by a couple who studied abroad. The couple got into gambling and got into huge debt. Both of them committed suicide by jumping off a building. Since their creditor was a local state-owned enterprise, the government could only close the zoo temporarily. They're planning to mortgage it to collect the debt." What an azure dragon spitting water and a group of monkeys circling the land. Admiration flashed through Yi-chan's eyes. He wondered if the couple who studied abroad had built a private zoo on a small dragon vein by accident. The azure dragon spitting water was dragon energy. It was a treasure land that circulated. However, The couple knew nothing about feng shui. They made the azure dragon's head, which was the end of the lake, face outside the garden. Would that not mean that their wealth would be leaked? It was no wonder that they got into gambling. The monkeys knew that it was a treasure land. Therefore, they refused to leave no matter how the outsiders chased them away. If he bought the garden and built a big formation on the dragon vein with dragon energy as the source and the formation as the framework, it would be brand new. He could turn this place into a natural spiritual land that could speed up one's cultivation. Yichen could not help but ask as he thought to this point. This garden hasn't been sold yet, has it? No. Wang Ming shook his head and said, but there's already a buyer. The Su family happens to like it, and they're planning to buy it as a gift. Naturally, the other families won't fight them for it. Therefore, this garden belongs to the Su family in name. The Su family is giving it away? Haha, are they planning to give it to the person behind Su Tao? Is this a dowry that's so generous? Yichen squinted. I'm buying this garden. He was worth more than 10 billion now. So, it was a piece of cake for him to buy a garden. My lord, the Su family is interested in this. Wang Ming was shocked. He inhaled sharply and said, I don't think it's a good time for us to fall out with the Su family. Moreover, we haven't found Ms. Su yet. Don't worry about it. Yichen stood with his arms behind his back and said in an extremely cold voice, I've never planned to keep a low profile since the beginning. This is the first gift that I'm giving to the Su family. If I hurt them, they'll naturally give themselves away. As for the person behind the Su family, I've already tested you. Can you stand the loneliness? Show yourselves, 1 or 2 at a time. Then, I can kill you one by one. Chapter 183. At night, Yichen returned to the Qi Medicine Hall. It was already time to get off work, but Huang Fugue did not close the door. Yichen saw Huang Fugue and Huang Pei playing chess when he arrived. Meanwhile, Zhang Daniu was reading a medicine book in full focus. Yichen looked at the three of them and asked in confusion, Why are you guys still here? Didn't the 2 girls say that they're picking you up for dinner tonight? Huang Fugue brought a stool over to suck up to him. That's why I thought they wouldn't be able to find you if I closed the door. Dad, what dinner? What girls? Huang Pei asked curiously. She had been busy with Zhang Daniu in the back room during the day, so she did not see Yin Ning and the rest at all. Huang Fugue told her what happened. Huang Pei opened her beautiful eyes wide and said to Yi Chun and his daughter while looking at them, Boss, you already have a daughter. Why are you still fooling around? Yi Chun was speechless. Don't spout nonsense. Huang Fugue glared at her immediately. She's treating you to dinner to thank you for saving her earlier. What do you mean by fooling around? She was dying to strangle her daughter. She had spoiled her since she was young, so she never thought before she spoke. I'm sorry, boss. That's just what I say. I didn't mean it. Huang Pei stuck her tongue out and said in embarrassment, can you bring me along? I like to see if these rich ladies eat all kinds of delicacies. She still did not believe that Yi Chun was just going there for dinner, so she wanted to go and watch. Moreover, she was telling the truth. Although she had never suffered much since she was young, her family was not that well off. Naturally, she wanted to live a rich life. Just when Huang Fugue was going to scold her, Yi Chun smiled calmly. Sure, all of you can go, including Daniu. Hooray, boss. Huang Pei shook Zhang Daniu's arm in excitement. Brother Daniu, stop looking. Boss is bringing us to dinner tonight. But I haven't finished reading my medicine book. Zhang Daniu was a little lost and conflicted. Apart from earning money to marry a wife, his other dream was to read medicine books. It would be best if he could learn some medical skills so that he could open a pharmacy in the village. Brother Daniu, are you stupid? This is a feast. If you miss it, you might not be able to eat it for the rest of your life. Can't you read the medicine book tomorrow? Huang Pei glared at him. Zhang Daniu was completely terrified and could only agree to it. His expression seemed to be a little unwilling. You guys go ahead. I won't be joining in the fun with you youngsters. Huang Fugue shook his head. At his age, he would rather go home and have a few bottles of baijiu, a plate of peanuts, and watch an anti-Japanese film. At this moment, the sound of brakes came from outside. Yin Ning, who had dressed up meticulously, walked in excitedly. Miracle Dr. Yi, I'm here. I hope I didn't keep you waiting. This time, She had changed into a burgundy suit that revealed her chest. Her long hair draped over her shoulders, and she wore a pair of small leather shoes on her feet, which was unusually eye-catching. Huang Pei was envious, and Zhang Daniu could not close his eyes. He wondered why this woman was so beautiful. She was much more beautiful than his future wife, Suehua, from the countryside. No. Yichen shook his head calmly and said, I'm bringing 2 friends with me. You don't mind, do you? Yanning glanced at Huang Pei and Zhang Daniu by instinct. She said without even thinking about it, why would I mind? It's more fun with more people. Boss, wait for me. I'll get changed. I'll be quick. Huang Pei's love for beauty was completely triggered. She went into her room and started tidying up after saying that. More than 10 minutes later, she walked out of the group in a light pink outfit with light makeup on her face. Brother Daniu, do I look good? Huang Pei lifted the edge of her dress and spun around. Zhang Daniu said by instinct, why you look good. You're much prettier than Suehua. Huang Pei rolled her eyes in response. What an idiot. You only have Suehua in your eyes. Let's go. Yichen walked out of the medicine store while carrying his daughter after saying that. A white Porsche Cayenne was parked at the door. Huang Pei and Zhang Daniu could not close their eyes when they saw it. Yin Ning thought Yi Chen's reaction would be similar to theirs. However, to her surprise, Yi Chen's expression did not change at all. He opened the car door casually and sat in the back. Huang Pei and Zhang Daniu got in the car too. This car looks so good. It's my first time sitting in it. Zhang Daniu's but looked like he had hemorrhoids. He was swaying uneasily. Huang Pei rolled her eyes at him. It's not just you. Even the boss and I have never sat in it before. Yichen smiled and said nothing. After Yin Ning started the car, Meng Meng, who was in Yi Chen's embrace, suddenly asked, Daddy, what car is this? Little girl, it's a Porsche, Huang Pei answered. Meng Meng asked again, which is better, a Lamborghini or a Porsche? Of course, it's a Lamborghini. I've never seen that car before, Huang Pei said enviously. Meng Meng blinked. All right, I got it. What did you get? Huang Pei was curious. Meng Meng said, Sister, don't ask. Otherwise, I'm afraid that you won't be able to take it. Oh, what's there that I won't be able to take? Tell me now. The little girl hesitated and said, My daddy has never sat in a Porsche before, but he has driven a Lamborghini. He gave it to my aunt later on. There was silence in the car for a few seconds. Puffed. Huang Pei could not help but laugh out loud. She poked her nose. You naughty girl. You know how to lie at such a young age. Do you know what a Lamborghini is? Although they had not known each other for a long time, she knew that her boss was rich. However, it would not be much. He was a bourgeois at most. It would be great if he could afford an Audi, let alone a Lamborghini. Even Yin Ning, who was driving, was amused. Miracle Dr. Ye's daughter is so cute. I'm not lying. Meng Meng panicked at that moment. Her little face flushed. Huang Pei comforted her immediately upon noticing that she was panicking. All right. I believe you. The little girl's mood turned better then. Yi Chun caressed her face with a gentle expression on his face. Yuhan, I wonder how happy you'll be if you see how cute our daughter is. Yin Ning drove slowly. She purposely chose a route that was not very congested. Over 20 minutes later, the car stopped at the entrance of a famous restaurant in Beijing, the Happy Valley. Under her lead, Yichen followed behind while carrying his daughter. Huang Pei and Zhang Daniu, on the other hand, were very reserved. They could not stop looking around. They went to the 3rd floor. Yin Ning pushed open one of the private rooms. At that moment, there were 7 to 8 young men and women sitting in it. All of them were dressed nicely. Chapter 184. Guys, let me introduce you guys. This is the miracle Dr. Yi that I told you guys about earlier. As soon as Yin Ning was done speaking, the people could not help but look at Yi Chun and the rest. Everyone could not help but look at Yi Chun and the rest. There was surprise, doubt, and disdain. Yi Chun looked normal, but Huang Pei and Zhang Daniu were nervous. It seemed like it was their first time experiencing this. Wei Nan was sitting among the crowd too. She secretly frowned when she saw Yi Chun, Zhang Daniu, and the rest. A bunch of country bumpkins who are not presentable. This girl Yin Ning is really regressing. At that moment, the atmosphere in the private room was rather awkward. The few of them remained sitting still. Yan Ning's expression changed slightly. Just when she was going to speak, a young man with thick brows and big eyes who was sitting at the side stood up and said while smiling, "Welcome, Miracle Dr. Yi." He took the initiative to give Yi Chen a seat as he spoke. Subsequently, the two young men next to him made room too. "Thank you," Yi Chen said coldly and sat down. Zhang Dainiu and Huang Pei held hands and sat next to him awkwardly. The young man waved and patted his chest loudly. "Don't mention it. Since Yan Ning treats you guys as her friends, you guys are my friends too." Yan Ning looked at him with utmost gratitude and subsequently got the waiter to serve the dishes. "Say, Li Yuanqing, why do you treat everyone as your friend?" A handsome young man smirked in disdain. It was obvious that he was scolding Li Yuanqing indirectly. Li Yuanqing chuckled. "Shuelei, I'm happy. It's none of your business." "Li Yuanqing, you better not call me your father. My father isn't someone you can offend." Shuelei's face turned grim. Li Yuanqing was amused. "Yo, are you going to tell your father when you get back? Go ahead. My father isn't someone you can offend. If you really can't handle it, I'll get my second uncle to fight your first uncle." "You?" Shuelei was enraged. "Is this Li Yuanqing out of his mind? He knows that I'm going after Yan Ning and wants to teach that bullsh asterisk Team Miracle Dr. Yi a lesson, but he insists on going against me. Why did he mention Li Yunxiao and Shui Xiao?" "All right, you two can stop talking." At this crucial moment, Wei Nan spoke up. Her status among the group was probably not low. The moment she spoke, Li Yuanqing and Shuelei immediately became obedient. A young man who looked like a gentleman took a good look at Yi Chen and the other two secretly. Surprise flashed through his eyes. From the moment he entered the door till now, Zhang Dainiu kept his head down and did not dare to look at everyone. His hands were clenched tightly on his thighs. It was obvious that he had not seen much of the world. Huang Pei's looks were above average. Although she was smiling, her smile was a little stiff. It was obvious that she was trying to hide the nervousness in her heart. She had some experience, but it shouldn't be much. The young man in glasses could not understand Yi Chen. At first glance, Yi Chen was dressed plainly and looked ordinary. It was difficult for people to remember him. However, upon closer observation, they realized that he had a calm expression on his face from the beginning to the end, as if he did not notice the people's hostility. Not only that, but he also interacted with the daughter in his arms without changing his expression, and from time to time revealed a natural smile. Such a person either had a low EQ and was not good at reading people's expressions. To put it bluntly, he was stupid, or he was a real big shot who had gone back to his roots and pretended to be weak. As for the miracle doctor, he did not agree with him. The young man in glasses pushed his glasses up as he thought to this point. He decided to test Yi Chen, so he took the initiative to ask, while smiling, "May I know where you're from, Miracle Dr. Yi? You look unfamiliar." "Oh yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Han Su." Everyone had their eyes on Yi Chen as soon as he spoke. The meaning in their eyes was self-explanatory. Yi Chen said coldly, "I'm from Tiannan." "Oh, you're not from Tiannan." Another young man who looked grim pretended to be surprised and said, "I heard that there are many mountains in Tiannan, and you guys are very poor. You guys are so poor that you can't even afford to eat. Also, you're barbaric. Is that true?" Beijing was a place where good and bad people mixed together. Be it the descendants of the 8 banners or the wealthy families, they would pay attention to their social circles. They would not be able to hang out if they were not in the same circle. His goal was to separate himself from Yi Chen. Just as he finished speaking, the terrified Zhang Dainiu immediately raised his head and glared at him angrily. This was because Zhang Dainiu was also from Tiannan. Yan Ning glared at him. "Su Jian, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by so poor that you can't even afford to eat? We're southern barbarians." Even Han Su glanced at him and frowned inwardly. The people of the Su family were really regressing. How could they say such stupid things? How could the barbarians of the South say it? "I only heard about it. Don't take it seriously." Su Jian knew that he had said something inappropriate, so he smiled awkwardly. However, Yi Chen lifted his head to look at him and said while grinning, "Your name is Su Jian? Su family? What can I do for you, Miracle Dr. Yi?" Su Jian smiled ambiguously. "You flatter me." Yi Chen shook his head lightly and said, while smiling, "But I can read your fortune." "Fortune-telling?" Su Jian laughed as if he had heard something funny. "You're telling my fortune? Aren't you a miracle doctor? When did you learn fortune-telling?" Hearing this, the others couldn't help but laugh. What Su Jian said had completely exposed Yi Chun as a liar. They even secretly mocked Yi Chun for being stupid. Yin Ning's pretty face changed slightly, and she said softly, "Miracle Doctor Yi, don't talk nonsense. Su Jian isn't someone to be trifled with." "Then, why don't you tell my fortune? I wonder how much it'll cost." Su Jian took a deep breath in and looked at Yi Chun in mockery. Yi Chun suddenly did not care about the people's stare. He said calmly, "I'll tell you that you'll definitely die a horrible death within a month." Everyone was shocked as soon as he said that. The smile on Su Jian's face froze. Just when he was going to speak, he heard Yi Chun speak again. "You don't have to take the money. After all, you'll be dead by then. Naturally, you won't be able to give me the fortune-telling fee." The people stared at Yi Chun in disbelief with their eyes wide open. Even Li Yuanqing and Han Su frowned. Clearly, they did not expect Yi Chun to cross the line. He really dared to say anything. Was he not cursing Su Jian and I? Bang! Su Jian slammed the table hard and glared at Yi Chun with a pair of ferocious eyes. Instead of being mad, he said while smiling, "I'll die a horrible death within a month. Am I right? Sure, I'll give you a month. If nothing happens to me within a month, you might be the one who dies." Yin Ning wanted to step out to mediate by instinct, but Wei Nin held her tightly, preventing her from moving. Wei Nin secretly shook her head. "Idiot, do you really think you can do whatever you want just because you know Yin Ning? Su Jian's background isn't any weaker than Yin Ning's. Moreover, you've offended everyone here with what you did today. By then, Yin Ning alone won't be able to protect you." Just when everyone thought that Yi Chun would show fear or regret, he smiled calmly. "Sure, if you're still alive in a month, you can come to me to settle the score." "Miracle Dr. Yi," Li Yuanqing could not help but say. "Don't worry about it." Yi Chun shook his head. Li Yuanqing sighed and gave Yin Ning a look that said, "I can't do anything about this brat." Han Su took a good look at Yi Chun. What exactly gave him such confidence? Could he really be a fortune-teller? At that moment, someone knocked on the private room's door. Subsequently, more than 10 waiters walked in with dishes in an orderly manner. Soon, the table was filled with all sorts of scrumptious dishes, whetting Huang Pei and Zhang Daniu's appetite. Han Su opened 2 bottles of red wine and took the initiative to resolve the awkwardness after pouring them. "Forget it. Let's stop talking. Cheers." "Miracle Dr. Yi, a toast to you," Yin Ning said as she picked up her glass. Yi Chun nodded and clinked glasses with her. He then clinked glasses with Huang Pei and Zhang Daniu, who looked nervous. "Daddy, I want to eat crab." Meng Meng was in Yi Chun's embrace, staring at the plate of hairy crabs before Su Jian. "I'll get you some." Yin Ning smiled and put some into the little girl's bowl. "Thank you, sister," Meng Meng said politely. The little guy said politely, put on the plastic gloves, and started to eat. However, the atmosphere at the dining table was rather cold. Li Yuanqing smiled and looked at Yi Chun. He took the initiative to ask, "Miracle Dr. Yi, since you're from Tianan, I wonder if you've heard of Mad Southern Yi?" Chapter 185. As soon as Li Yuanqing said that, the entire private room fell into silence. The entire private room became quiet at once. Other than Zhang Daniu, Huang Pei, and Meng Meng, who only cared about eating and drinking, the rest of the people looked solemn. Yi Chun looked stunned as everyone stared at him. He had no idea how to answer that question. Li Yuanqing shook his head lightly upon seeing his expression. "It seems like you've never heard of Mad Southern Yi. Miracle Dr. Yi." Han Su was rather disappointed too. He thought Yi Chun must have a powerful background since he was so calm. However, he had no idea who the famous Mad Southern Yi was. At that moment, he lost interest in befriending him. "Ms. Yin, who's this Mad Southern Yi that you guys are talking about? Is he famous?" On the other hand, Huang Pei, who was sitting aside, wiped her mouth. She was curious. She was not as nervous as before after eating and drinking. Disgust flashed through Wei Nan's eyes upon seeing her and Zhang Daniu eating. However, She said anyway, he's not just famous. It's not an exaggeration to say that Mad Southern Yi is the best in China. That's right. Hansu took over the topic and looked at Yi Chun in all seriousness. Just like Miracle Dr. Yi, Mad Southern Yi is from Tiannan. His surname is Yi. However, this man is Tiannan's legend, China's legend, and the Tiannan #1. He's #1 on the heaven leaderboard. The rest nodded by instinct. They were all from wealthy families, so naturally, what they saw was different for Zhang Dainyu and the rest. In particular, they found out about Yi Chun getting to #1 on the heaven leaderboard as soon as possible. Tiannan #1? Zhang Dainyu burped. What's Tiannan #1? Could be a high official in Tiannan. They say that high officials are the most powerful in our village. High official. Shuele glanced at him in slight disdain. What a mere high official in the 3 provinces of Tiannan. Moreover, high officials aren't the most powerful in the 3 provinces of Tiannan. The provincial high officials are. What an idiot. What are they if not high officials? Also, what's the heaven leaderboard that you guys are talking about? Huang Pei was getting more and more confused. Yan Ning explained while smiling. We're referring to ancient martial artists. Mad Southern Yi is also an ancient martial artist, and he's a powerhouse among ancient martial artists. The heaven leaderboard is a leaderboard that lists ancient martial artists. She paused as she spoke to this point. She looked at Yi Chun and explained, Miracle Dr. Yi, this Mad Southern Yi is an expert among experts. He's a #1 expert. Was an ancient warrior. Huang Pei stopped eating and stared at everyone with wide eyes. She felt like she had entered an unknown world. An ancient martial arts practitioner is a level that you will never be able to touch. Su Jian chuckled. His face was filled with arrogance. He picked up the wine glass and gently gripped it. Everyone saw that 5 finger marks appeared on the quilt, but the quilt did not shatter. This scene caused Huang Pei and Zhang Dainyu to be dumbstruck, and it was as if they had seen a ghost. Even Li Yuanqing and the others were shocked. Shuelei's expression froze. He said with some surprise, Su Jian, your strength seems to have improved again. A few days ago, I accidentally unblocked my conception and governing vessels. Su Jian shook his head, pretending to be calm. However, the arrogance between his brows could not be wiped away. He could not help but look at Yi Chun and the rest by instinct as he spoke to this point. He realized that Zhang Dainyu and Huang Pei were looking at him with fear written all over their faces. An arrogant smirk appeared at the corner of Su Jian's lips. However, the smile at the corner of his lips froze when he looked at Yi Chun. Yi Chun did not have any expression on his face. Instead, he was eating in a carefree manner. His movements were neither fast nor slow, as if he did not see the finger marks on the glass. Daddy, I want that. The little girl stood on his lap and pointed at the plate of crispy meat on the table. Yi Chun picked a piece for her while smiling. Su Jian's expression turned grim when he saw that. Intense killing intent flashed through his eyes. To him, Yi Chun should respect him like Zhang Dainyu and the rest. Li Yuanqing noticed that too. He said in between tears and laughter, Brother Yi, I'm really curious sometimes. Is there nothing that surprises you? Wei Nin secretly scoffed. Act. Any normal person would be shocked to hear that and see that. You, on the other hand, are pretending to be calm just to show that you're different before us. You have no idea that you're making me look down on you even more. Wow, Huang Pei exclaimed. Disbelief filled her eyes. According to what you guys said, isn't this Mad Southern Yi very powerful? Of course. Han Su shook his head, his face filled with respect. Mad Southern Yi rose to fame in Tiannan and fought Yuan Bupo on the river. Then, he fought 3 powerhouses at the peak of the snow mountain. He killed the 3 powerhouses directly. He even killed an American martial Dao master at sea to protect China's dignity. Han Su, have to admire him. Su Jian frowned, feeling rather upset. I think the rumor is a little exaggerated. I believe that Mad Southern Yi killed Yuan Bupo, but I think it's a publicity stunt since he killed so many masters. A publicity stunt? I heard that from many sources. Even the military admitted it. Do you think it's a publicity stunt? Li Yuanqing snickered. Doesn't this Su Jian think that Mad Southern Ye's reputation is overshadowing his? So what if you're on illuminating pulse? Mad Southern Ye can kill you with a breath. It's not a publicity stunt. Yin Ning shook her head and said with certainty after some hesitation, I heard from my second uncle that Mad Southern Ye's ability is more powerful than his. Nobody among the masters in China is his match. Everyone's expression changed as soon as she said that. Everyone's expression changed. Who else could Yin Ning's second uncle be? Naturally, it was General Yin Nanfei, the Navy's rear admiral. He was a legend in China's Navy. He had been famous in China since 20 years ago, and he was ranked number 8 on the Heaven leaderboard. Surprise flashed through Yi Chen's face. Yin Ning's second uncle? Yin Nanfei? Han Su was filled with emotions. He felt like great minds thought alike. I can't believe that even General Yin has high praise for this Mad Southern Yi. That's not all. Waynan took a deep breath in and said, my little uncle said something like that too. He said that Mad Southern Yi has the potential to reach above the innate stage. Everyone's expression changed as soon as they were done speaking. Above the innate stage. Above the innate stage. That was a legendary existence. Ancient martial arts in China have been developed for so many years, and there were many heroes. However, they had never heard of what was above the innate stage. Shuai Lei chuckled. Mad Southern Yi jumped from number 11 to number 1 on the Heaven leaderboard. None of the top 10 have fought him before, so don't be so sure. My uncle would like to spar with him if there's a chance. Shuai Lei, isn't your uncle just jealous that Mad Southern Yi pushed him out of the number 10 on the Heaven leaderboard? Just admit it. Why do you have to make it sound so righteous? Li Yuanqing said wryly. Shuai Lei was enraged. His uncle was Shui Xiao. He was ranked number 10 on the Heaven leaderboard. Now that Yi Chun had become number 1, the ranking below him dropped by 1. Naturally, Shui Xiao, who was ranked number 10, dropped to number 11. He was completely pushed out of the Heaven leaderboard. Therefore, Shui Xiao was embarrassed. He became a joke in the martial Dao world at the moment. How could he not hate Mad Southern Yi? Yi Chun had a strange expression on his face upon hearing that. It was true that the blame fell from the sky when he was sitting at home. He felt a little wronged. Forget it. Let's stop talking. Let's eat. Seeing that the duo was going to fight again, Yin Ning mediated immediately and stopped talking about the topic earlier. At that moment, Huang Pei said while stammering, Boss, I'd like to go to the toilet. Dainyu, go with her. Yi Chen glanced at Zhang Dainyu. Zhang Dainyu put down a piece of pork rib reluctantly and walked out of the private room with Huang Pei. She stuck her tongue out and pointed at the mineral water on the table. Daddy, I want to drink water. It's so spicy. Yi Chen stretched his arm out to get her a bottle. He opened the cap and passed it to her. Yin Ning loved the little girl who was gulping down the water. She asked by instinct, Meng Meng, why isn't your mother here? She just realized at that moment that she seemed to have only seen Yi Chun and her daughter since they met. She had not seen Yi Chen's wife. Just when Meng Meng was going to speak, an argument came from outside. Yi Chen's right ear twitched lightly. Subsequently, a cold expression appeared on his face. He carried his daughter and walked out. Chapter 186. Stop hitting him, stop hitting him. Before Yi Chun got closer, he heard Huang Pei's cries and the sound of punches and kicks coming from the bathroom door. When he got closer to take a look, the three of them were punching and kicking Zhang Dainyu, while Huang Pei was grabbed tightly by a fatty who had a huge golden chain around his neck. She was so frightened that her face turned pale. Stop! Yin Ning, who caught up, stopped them immediately. The fatty who was holding Huang Pei scoffed while the fat on his face jiggled. This has nothing to do with you guys. It's best that you mind your own business. If you guys don't stop, I'll make sure that you guys can't survive in Beijing anymore. Yin Ning's expression turned cold instantly. At the same time, Li Yuanqing, Han Su, Shuai Lei, and the rest walked out of the private room and stood behind Beijing. The fatty's expression changed when he saw Yin Ning and the rest. Moreover, they had an extraordinary aura. All right, you guys are ruthless. However, this isn't over. He let go of Huang Pei after saying that and left with his people. Meanwhile, Zhang Dainyu was beaten up until his face was swollen. Blood was dripping from his nose. Huang Pei walked over immediately and cried out of anxiety. "Brother Danyu, are you all right? Don't scare me." "I am fine." Zhang Danyu wiped his nose and said while grinning, "I've been beaten up since I was young. I'll be fine after a few days of rest. Let's go back." Su Jian glanced at him in utter disdain and turned around to return to the private room. Yichen looked at Zhang Danyu and asked after sitting down, "What exactly happened?" "Boss, this happened," Huang Pei said with her eyes red, feeling wronged. "I got out of the bathroom. When I was washing my hands, that fatty touched but from behind. I scolded him, and he slapped me. Then, Brother Danyu fought back. Shameless and perverted. I should have beaten him up earlier." Yin Ning's pretty face was flushing from anger. Ming Ming walked over and opened her eyes wide. "Uncle Danyu, are you in pain? Do you want me to blow on your face?" As she spoke, she even blew a few mouthfuls of air at Zhang Danyu's face, as if he would recover after she blew on him. A ferocious gleam flashed through Yi Chen's eyes. He extended his hand and secretly took a little snake from his daughter's hair. He said through voice transmission, "Go, keep an eye on this person and his subordinates. If they want to run, kill them." Xiao He was only as thin as a strand of hair. He landed on the ground and disappeared without anyone noticing. No one else saw this scene. The person who dared to fight in this restaurant just now must have some background, Shuelei said with a smile that was not a smile. With his reminder, the others also reacted. Hansu nodded. "If I remember correctly, the boss behind this restaurant is called Third Master Wei. He's quite famous in Yanjing." Everyone turned to look at Wei Nan. "Don't look at me. He's not a member of our Wei family. Otherwise, I would have known him. He probably has the same surname." Wei Nan shook her head. Huang Pei was still wiping the wounds on Zhang Danyu's face as she cried her heart out. Su Jian said in his deep voice, "Stop crying. You guys are in big trouble now that you've offended Third Master Wei. Go home and cry when something happens. Third Master Wei shouldn't dare to do anything reckless with me here," Yin Ning said in her deep voice. Although the Yin family was a wealthy family, they had strict rules. They did not allow the family's disciples to cause trouble outside with their background. Yin Ning could not help but look at Wei Nan next to her as she thought to this point. "Sister Nan Nan, can you help Zhang Danyu and the rest if Third Master Wei really comes later?" Wei Nan was a little hesitant. Although she was not afraid of Third Master Wei, she was unwilling to offend such a person for the sake of insignificant people like Yi Chun and Zhang Danyu. Moreover, she did not want to save them. Yin Ning panicked. Su Jian and Shuelei looked at each other at the same time. They saw gloating in each other's eyes. Eventually, Li Yuanqing said after some hesitation, "Let's wait and see." In a private room on the 5th floor of the Happy Valley Hotel, the fatty from before pushed the door open and walked in. The fat man from before pushed open the door and walked in. He sat down on the sofa and cursed. "F*CK. That be *TCH is lucky." "What's wrong, Director Zhao? Who made you angry?" A middle-aged man next to him said while chuckling. There were two extremely slender ladies in revealing clothes sitting next to him. They would put peeled oranges into his mouth every now and then. Director Zhao spat. "Who else could it be? I bumped into a chick when I went to the toilet earlier. I could not help but touch her perky butt. In the end, not only did that be *TCH scold me, but she even got someone to punch me." The middle-aged man's face turned grim upon hearing that. "Who dares to touch Director Zhao in my territory? Let's go. Bring me there." In the private room, where Yi Chun was, Huang Pei finally stopped crying. Huang Pei finally stopped crying and turned her head to look at Yi Chun. "Boss, why don't we head back? Brother Danyu is severely injured. There's no rush. Let's wait for them." Yi Chun shook his head as his eyes could not stop flickering. As soon as he said this, the others were stunned, thinking that they had heard wrongly. "Why don't you run at a time like this? Why are you waiting for them to come? Are you out of your mind? Brother Yi, why don't you guys?" Yin Ning hesitated. Yi Chun waved. "Don't worry." Wei Ning glanced at him in utter disgust. She almost called him an idiot. "Why are you still acting tough at a time like this? I'd like to see what you're going to do when nobody's willing to help you later." Su Jian grinned in a creepy manner. Bang! The private room's door was kicked open. Subsequently, a young man with a scar on his face let a man in. The man took a good look at the crowd and eventually had his eyes on Zhang Daniu. It's the both of them. Take them away. The young man with the scar waved. Two muscular hunks leaped out from behind him immediately. They walked to Zhang Daniu by instinct. Huang Pei stood before Zhang Daniu immediately and looked at them in fear. What are you guys doing? What are we doing? This brat hit our boss's VIP guest. Come with us, the young man with the scar scoffed. Yin Ning said immediately, you guys can't take them away. Who are you? The young man with the scar asked. Yin Ning hesitated. I'm from the Yin family. The Yin family? The young man with the scar's pupils shrunk slightly. Subsequently, he scoffed and said, I admit that the Yin family has a powerful background, but I'm warning you to mind your own business. Our boss knows the people from the Yin family. This is a private matter. Yin Ning, come back, Wei Nan scolded. Yin Ning stomped her foot. Sister Nan, come back. Wei Nan's expression turned grim. She only looked at Yi Chun after Yin Ning went back obediently. Your employees are doomed. Let's see what you're going to do now. Take them away. The young man with the scar waved. Wait. Yi Chun suddenly spoke and looked at the young man with the scar expressionlessly. Who's your boss? Get him to come and see me. Chapter 187. The scarred youth was stunned, thinking that he had misheard. What did you just say? Besides him, even Wei Nan and the rest were no exception. They looked at Yi Chun as if they were looking at an idiot. You actually asked Third Master Wei to roll over here to see you? Li Yuanqing sighed to himself. Initially, he wanted to stand up and say something. He believed that the young man with the scar would let the matter go for the sake of the Li family. However, as Yi Chun said that, there was no turning back now. Shualei couldn't help but laugh gloatingly. He really thought of himself as a big shot. Facing everyone's gaze, Yi Chun's extremely cold voice was heard again. Get her boss to come and see me. I don't want to repeat myself for the third time. Courting death. The young man with the scar was enraged. He swung his arm and was going to hit Yi Chun. At that moment, Zhang Daniu, who was standing aside, suddenly said, Don't hit Brother Chun. I'll go with you guys. I'll take responsibility for what I did. It's too late. The young man with the scar squinted. Just when he was going to walk to Yi Chun, an extremely domineering voice came from outside. I'd like to see who's so arrogant to ask me to come and see him. As soon as he said that, Zhang Daniu and Huang Pei's expressions changed drastically. Su Jian, who was standing at the side, laughed coldly. Today, all of you are going to suffer. Wei Nan could not help but look at Yi Chun playfully. Great miracle, Dr. Yi. I don't know if you will still be as calm as you are now after being beaten up. I don't know if you can cure yourself. Immediately after, a middle-aged man with a long beard and a pale face walked in with a golden saber. Behind him were dozens of burly men, all of them brimming with killing intent. Third Master, that's him. Scar stretched his arm out and pointed at Yi Chun as a cruel grin appeared at the corner of his lips. The middle-aged man looked in the direction of his finger and saw a young man looking at him indifferently with a girl in his arms. Brat, you were the one who told me to scram. When he saw Yi Chun's face clearly, he froze directly, as if he had been struck by lightning. The word scram was stuck in his throat, and he could not finish it no matter what. Third Master Wei, my friend didn't mean it. I hope you won't hold it against him. Yin Ning clenched her teeth and subsequently turned her head to say to Yi Chun, Brother Yi, apologize to Third Master Wei. However, the next moment, everyone heard a thud and saw the Third Master Wei collapse onto the ground directly. He looked at Yi Chun as if he had seen a ghost. Boss, are you all right? The knife-scarred youth subconsciously wanted to help him up, but found that his body was as cold as a corpse. Wei Dong gulped and could not stop shaking as he looked at Yi Chun. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Why? The Third Master Wei was Wei Dong. Ever since Yi Chun summoned the Divine Thunder in Tianan and blasted Elder Priest Qingyang, whom Wei Dong had invited, into pieces in front of everyone, Yi Chun's silhouette bathed in lightning had become Wei Dong's nightmare. He could not fall asleep whenever he thought about it. Therefore, Wei Dong could only use his background to move his family to Beijing. He wanted to get away from Yi Chun. Never had he thought that he would encounter this fiend again after a few days of peace. After his reaction fell into the eyes of the crowd, everyone was stunned. Everyone was stunned. Didn't they come here aggressively to settle the score with their people? In the blink of an eye, he was so scared that he collapsed to the ground like a mouse that had seen a cat. Yin Ning was elated when she snapped back to her senses. Wei Nan was in disbelief. The smiles on Su Jian and Shuai Lei's faces froze. Li Yuanqing and Han Su were stunned. Wei Dong, looks like you still recognize me. Yi Chen looked at him wryly. Little did he know that Wei Dong saw Yi Chen smile, as if he was the Grim Reaper. Wei Dong shuddered. This is all a misunderstanding. I didn't know you were here. Misunderstanding? Yi Chen raised his brows. My friend was beaten up by your people, and you're telling me that it's a misunderstanding? Do as you see fit. All right, I will definitely give you an explanation. Wei Dong nodded repeatedly. Then, he pursed his lips and said a few words to the knife-scarred youth. The knife-scarred youth's eyes flashed with shock, but he still walked out. All of a sudden, everyone could not help but look at Yi Chun. Yi Chen took a sip of water while carrying his daughter. He looked like he did not care, and his expression and behavior were exactly the same as before. If they thought that Yi Chun was pretending to be calm earlier, now that they looked at him again, they felt that there was an additional sense of mystery about him. Could it be that he was from some rich and powerful family? Han Su narrowed his eyes and guessed. Not long after, the knife-scarred man returned and whispered something into Wei Dong's ear. The next moment, Wei Dong looked at Yi Chun with fear in his eyes. And Master Yi, they're dead. This was because the knife-scarred youth had just told him that President Zhao and his 3 subordinates had all died in the private room. When he arrived, he only saw 4 skeletons on the ground, and there was not a single piece of flesh on the bones. It was as if it had been eaten clean by something. Connecting it to the conflict between Director Zhao and Yi Chun and Yi Chen's supernatural techniques earlier, Wei Dong knew that it was Yi Chun who did all of that without even thinking. As soon as he said that, Zhang Dainiu and Huang Pei were shocked. He was fine just a moment ago, but he died in the blink of an eye. However, they thought that Wei Dong sent someone to kill him. Oh, that really is retribution. Yi Chen gave a short response. Then I'll take my leave first. Wei Dong retreated as he spoke. He could not wait to leave as soon as possible. He really did not want to spend another second with Yi Chun. Wait, Yi Chen suddenly said, did I say you could leave? Your people have been punished, but what about your crime of not disciplining them properly? Then what do you want me to do? Wei Dong squeezed out a smile that looked worse than crying. Yi Chun said expressionlessly, slap yourself and get lost. As his voice fell, everyone was shocked. Isn't this too much? The fact that he took the initiative to apologize to you is already giving you enough face. Yet you actually let him slap your own face in front of his subordinates? Zhang Dainiu hurriedly said no need. However, the next moment, Wei Dong's words shocked everyone once again. I'll fan. After saying this, he raised his right hand and continuously slapped both sides of his face. There seemed to be a sense of relief between his brows. Pa! Every slap was very heavy, and the strength was not ordinary. The sound was abnormally loud. What they don't know is, to Wei Dong, his life was much more important than his face. He believed that he would be beheaded if he dared to reject Yi Chun. Soon, both sides of Wei Dong's face were swollen. He said in a muffled voice, Hey, is this okay? Get lost. Yi Chun waved. Sigh. Wei Dong let out a sigh of relief and fell to the ground. His body slowly rolled towards the door of the private room. He was really rolling. The people could not close their mouths as they watched. After Wei Dong rolled out, the door of the private room was closed. Zhang Dainiu and Huang Pei were relieved at the same time. At that moment, the way the people looked at Yi Chun was different. There was speculation and fear in their eyes. They thought that Yi Chun and the rest would be in big trouble since Wei Dong came. Never had they thought that such a ridiculous outcome would happen. Yin Ning stared at Yi Chun with her beautiful eyes wide open. She said in confusion, Brother Yi, why is Third Master Wei so afraid of you? Because I scared him out of his wits. Facing the people's doubtful gaze, Yi Chun said calmly, That's why his legs go weak whenever he sees me now. Chapter 188. After Wei Dong's farce, the way the people in the private room looked at Yi Chun had a subtle change. Although that was the case, Wei Nan, Shuelei, Su Jian, and the rest did not care. To them, Wei Dong was just someone who wandered around the Beijing wealthy family circle. He was not important. On the other hand, Li Yuanqing, Han Su, and the rest who were closer to Yi Chun secretly nodded. It was their first time taking Yi Chun seriously. Since Zhang Dainiu was injured, Yi Chun took the initiative to go back. Yan Ning sent them back out of kindness. Just like that, the gathering ended. After paying the bill, they walked out of the Pleasantville Hotel one after another. Just when Zhang Dainiu and Huang Pei got into Yan Ning's car and Yi Chun was going in, Shuelei walked over while smiling. He said softly, "I don't care if you're Miracle Dr. Yi or whoever you are. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't do anything to Yan Ning. Stay away from her, or else. Or else what do you want?" Yi Chun looked at him expressionlessly. Shuelei's voice was deep. "Or else, I can make you disappear any time. You better not question my ability. Let me give you a piece of advice, too." Yi Chun smirked. "You won't die if you don't seek death." Seeking death. Killing intent flashed through Shuelei's eyes. At that moment, Yan Ning, who was in the car, peeked her head out and asked in confusion, "What are you guys mumbling about? Get in." Yi Chun smiled calmly and subsequently got into the car. Yan Ning then drove away. Shuelei stood where he was and watched the car drive away coldly. Su Jian walked over, and a playful smirk appeared at the corner of his lips. "Do you want me to help you?" "No need." Shuelei left after saying that. He took out his phone as he walked, seeming to be contacting someone. Yi Chun got Yan Ning to drive the car to the medicine store directly. Huang Pei carried Zhang Dainiu into the store and rummaged through the cabinets to look for medicine for him. Her eyes were red. "Brother Dainiu, why don't I send you to the hospital?" "No, I'm fine. It's a waste of money to go to the hospital." Zhang Dainiu smiled honestly and lifted his head to look at Yi Chun with guilt written all over his face. "I'm sorry, boss. I caused you trouble today. Brother Dainiu, it has nothing to do with you. This is all because of me. I even caused you to be beaten up like this." Huang Pei covered her mouth and said in shock, "Boss, you can fire me if you want. It has nothing to do with Brother Dainiu. Who said I was going to expel you?" Yi Chun could not help but laugh. He looked at Zhang Dainiu and said while smiling, "Dainiu, you did great today. You're very brave. Do your best here." "Thank you, Brother Chun." "Thank you, boss." Zhang Dainiu and Huang Pei were overjoyed. After Huang Pei heaved a sigh of relief, she took out a medical box and said, "Brother Dainiu, don't move. I'll apply medicine for you. Pei, don't stand too close, or else I'll let Shui Hua down." Zhang Dainiu's face was red. Yi Chun was speechless. He was relying on his own strength to stay single. Shaking his head, he carried his daughter back to the villa that Lin Tai had bought after telling them to go to bed early. It was a silent night. He received a call from Wang Meng the next morning. "Bad news, my lord. The people from the Fast Attack Group are here to collect protection fees again. They're blocking our entrance and are not letting customers in. I'll be right there." After hanging up, Yi Chun urged his daughter to get up. After washing up, he carried the little girl out and hailed a cab to head straight to the Qi Medicine Hall. As soon as the car stopped, Yi Chun saw more than 10 people gathered at the entrance of the medicine hall. All of them wore suits and ties. Meanwhile, nobody dared to stop and watch. Clearly, they were afraid of those people. The sound of Zhang Dainiu arguing with someone came from the crowd. Yi Chun walked over after getting off the car while carrying his daughter. He saw Zhang Dainiu guarding the entrance of the medicine hall with a boning knife in his hand. He was glaring at the people around furiously. Meanwhile, Huang Fuguei and Huang Pei hid in the house and dared not come out. Clearly, they were terrified. A long-haired young man with a grim expression had a cigarette in his mouth. He looked at Zhang Dainiu in a playful manner. "Blockhead, get your boss out now. Otherwise, don't blame my brothers, Longhair, for smashing your stupid shop. I won't go easy on anyone who dares to come." Zhang Dainiu gripped the boning knife in his hand tightly. His palms were covered in cold sweat. He was scared to death, but he was holding on. Longhair tossed the cigarette, but onto the ground and waved after stomping it with his foot. A cruel smirk appeared at the corner of his lips. Go! Smash this stupid shop and cripple him. Zhang Daniu closed his eyes by instinct. Meanwhile, Huang Fugue and Huang Pei, who were in the house, had a change of expression as they thought to themselves that they were in trouble. A cold voice was then heard. You guys try. The people turned their heads to look and saw a young man walking over slowly while carrying a girl who was 4 or 5 years old. The young man looked calm, as if he did not see the terrible situation. At first, Zhang Daniu was elated. Subsequently, he said anxiously, Boss, be Brother Chun, run now. Although he was dumb, he was not a fool. Those people were here for Yi Chun. If they caught Yi Chun, he would definitely end badly. Run? Where do you think you're going? Longhair chuckled and took a good look at Yi Chun fearlessly. Brat, are you the owner of this medicine hall? Isn't it time to pay this month's protection fee? Boss, don't listen to them. Huang Fugue walked out angrily and stood behind Zhang Daniel. He said angrily, You are bullying us. We just paid the protection fee a few days ago. Do you have a right to speak? Old thing. Longhair glared at him coldly and said with a smirk, This place belongs to the Fast Attack Group. We decide how many times you guys pay in a month. If you guys don't want to pay, we'll smash your stupid shop. You. Huang Fugue was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Yichen gave a short response and looked at him coldly. I wonder how much do you guys want this time? As soon as he said that, Zhang Daniu, Huang Fugue, and the other two had a change of expression. There was disappointment in their eyes when they looked at Yichun. Longhair immediately laughed out loud, and the smug look on his face could not be wiped away. At least you know what's good for you, kid. Hand over the 100,000 yuan. 100,000? Why don't you just rob someone? Huang Fugue was so mad that he almost spat blood. He usually paid 3,000 to 4,000 yuan a month, but now he was asking for 100,000 yuan. Meanwhile, the shop's monthly net profit was less than 20,000 yuan. That's right, I'm robbing someone. What can you guys do to me? Longhair smiled instead of being mad. His eyes turned cold all of a sudden. I'll say this one last time. Give me the money, or I'll smash the shop. Huang Fugue could not help but look at Yichun. He was panicking at the moment. Clearly, his boss could not afford the money. They would lose their jobs as soon as the shop was smashed. Zhang Daniu gripped his boning knife tightly and secretly decided that he would not let Yichun get hurt no matter what if the bunch of people were to fight. However, Yichun glanced at him with coldness in his eyes. I wonder how much your arms and legs are worth. What did you say? Longhair opened his eyes wide and subsequently laughed out loud. My asterisk guess. Whoosh! He charged at Yichun with a ferocious grin. Have you ever seen a fist as big as a punching bag? Zhang Daniu wanted to stop him by instinct. Huang Fugue and Huang Pei could not bear to watch. However, in the next second, the crowd felt their vision blur. Everyone only saw a blur in front of them, followed by a loud bang. A figure directly flew out, smashing heavily on the pharmacy's glass door. The glass door shattered, and the pieces were scattered all over the ground. Longhair was whimpering as he lay on the glass shards. Meanwhile, Yichun stood where he was while carrying his daughter. He did not move at all, as if nothing had happened. Dead silence filled the place. One could hear a pin drop. Everyone watched that in disbelief with their mouths wide open. They felt like their heads were in a blur, and they could not see what had happened at all. Go! Go! Kill him! Longhair got up from the ground. His face was covered in blood, and he looked resentful. The rest of the people who were dumbstruck just snapped back to their senses. The remaining people who were dumbstruck only snapped back to their senses then. They charged at Yichun while holding their weapons. Yichun looked calm, as usual. He walked toward Longhair one step after another, while carrying his daughter, as if he did not see the people who were charging at him. Bang, bang, bang. The people felt a terrifying force coming at them as soon as they got close to him. Subsequently, they were thrown out directly. All of them lost their arms and legs. During this period of time, he did not make a single move. These dozen or so people did not even manage to touch the corner of his clothes. Zhang Daniu was stunned. Huang Fugue was stunned, and disbelief filled Huang Pei's face. They did not know that their boss was so powerful. Longhair was also frightened by the previous scene. He could not help but take a step back when he saw Yi Chan walking toward him one step after another. He said fiercely, "W, what are you trying to do? How much are your arms and legs worth?" Yi Chan looked at him expressionlessly. Longhair was stunned at first. Subsequently, fear flashed through his face as he said by instinct, "No." Before he could finish speaking, he felt an irresistible pressure, causing him to kneel on the ground with a thud. The glass shards were deeply embedded in his thigh. He could not move at all. Kacha! The sound of a joint cracking came. Longhair's right hand began spinning on its own. Soon, it was like a fried dough twist, followed by his right arm. "I'm begging you. Let me go," Longhair begged while shrieking. His eyes were filled with fear when he looked at Yi Chan. Kacha! Another crisp sound came. His legs turned 180 degrees, and his kneecaps were behind his butt. "Devil! Why, you're a devil." Longhair almost fainted from the pain. Yi Chan said coldly, "Who sent you here? Who's the leader of your fast attack group?" "Our leader is an ancient martial artist. He won't let you go. You'll die a horrible death." Longhair was twitching. "That's right. I won't let him go either." Yi Chan smirked. "Don't worry. I won't kill you. Go back and tell your leader that I, Yi Chan, would like to know how many heads he has for me to chop off.